Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone is having a beautiful day. I'm sorry that I am late. I was running some errands this morning and there was a big car accident a couple streets over from me, and I was held up in all of that mess and just walked in the door. And luckily I already had my computer ready to go, but we're going to jump right in. Court did start late today from what I understand. So let's see what is going on there. Series classic.
For the Honorable Beverly Canoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court in Fulton County.
Well,
Give your attendance and shall be heard.
that sounds
By the
wild.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. You may be seated.
Oh, that's the guy who doesn't also say it.
22117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. So, a few things. First of all, let me ask you those 3 questions, please. Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone suspected? Everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left here that is no longer able to participate in this case with us? And you may know why, but it's my job to tell you that it's personal to that juror. It has nothing to do whatsoever with this case, and you're not to consider that.
So they lost a juror.
You'll remember that when digital evidence or text messages
So it sounds like they lost a juror.
were introduced earlier,
That's the first one yet for the whole trial.
I gave you an instruction. I'm required to give you this instruction again.
And we're going to
Before
skip the
that
instruction.
the witness or was the person
All right, here we go, guys.
Someone from the evidence of the court during the case now where the truth, all truth, and nothing but the truth will help you found.
Good morning, Trooper.
Yes, sir.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, as a matter of housekeeping, I would move to admit the packet of text messages with date stamps.
More text messages. Oh boy.
2680.
Yes, Bender, we lost a juror. Happy to see you also.
For 2 on Monday.
Is there an objection to the written one coming in?
Same objection.
Judge Babb
Why
just
don't I
said
see
it
it?
was personal. Judge Babb just said it was personal reasons. All right, sidebar. Sidebar. Long sidebar. All right.
Yes, these are all just for identification.
Yep.
I'll give the court the inclusive base stamps number. Base stamp numbers. Next packet would be 2680 through
Oh, they're still admitting text messages.
25.
All right, here we go. Coolio. Wow. All right, you guys ready? Woohoo!
May I approach?
Yes.
It's got a binder. Is that all text messages? Holy fuck. Okay, hold on. She's still getting those ready. I thought he was ready to go, but not quite.
Can you take a look at the face page of what's
All right,
under
here we
tab
go.
2 and tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, sir. It's a private text thread with high school friends.
And this includes 9 participants, 9 chat participants that you
So it's interesting, right? Because a lot of text messages came in on direct, but I was wondering if that wasn't all of them, because there was clearly a lot of context missing. So I wonder if what the Commonwealth was thinking is like, oh, let's go ahead and get some of these in, like to make it seem like they're being, you know, open and transparent and facing it head on. But like, did they really leave out like a lot, or did they leave out the worst ones? We're going to find out together. It'll be interesting.
engage with.
That's correct.
Those participants include people by the name of Bird, Whitey, and Doc, correct?
Correct.
And then there's some other folks in there. They're identified by at least the last 4 digits of their phone number, correct?
Yes.
So this is a group text or a group chat with you and 8 of your high school friends
Wow.
about this investigation.
8
correct?
of them. Fuck.
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, you never thought when you were engaged with these other 8 individuals that this particular set of chats would ever become public, did you?
Oh, wow.
No, I do not.
I want to take a look at page 25, 27, if you could turn, that's on the bottom right
Sounded like duck. Yeah.
of the
Bird.
document in tab 2. Do you
There's
recognize,
bird.
I'm sorry, do you have that page in front of you?
Yes, sir.
You recognize that this group chat was taking place on January 29th at about
Oh, wow.
10:52 p.m., correct?
Oh, right
Correct.
before.
And
Okay.
The person that I'll identify as 5051, that's the
Oh,
last
well.
4 digits of that phone number, indicates Chip, name of that BPD cop, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
First of all, you indicated on Monday that you're Chip, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the 29th. So right. So after midnight. So no, this was after he died. Okay.
You responded at 10:53 p.m., John O'Keefe, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you were willing to tell, just a few hours into an investigation of
Yeah.
the death of a Boston police officer, you were willing to tell a bunch of high school buddies details about the investigation, including the name of the victim, correct?
At this point, it's 16 hours later, sir. Not a few.
16 is a few hours, correct? I'm not talking about days later.
It was about 16 hours later, sir.
Well, what's especially funny is on direct examination, he said that he was like, I would never talk about the details of a case with anyone, blah, blah.
And you identified John O'Keefe as the Boston police officer who was fallen in the yard at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
You also informed, if you will skip to page 2529, you also informed these same folks, these same high school buddies that, quote, all the powers that be want answers ASAP, correct?
Yes.
You knew, Trooper Proctor, that there was brass that wanted this case wrapped up quickly and efficiently. Isn't that right?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Is that what you were thinking?
No, the people wanted answers, sir.
They wanted to, they didn't just want
He's
answers.
just gonna
they wanted
lie and say
answers
no to the
ASAP. What does ASAP mean?
That's as soon as possible.
Right. And you were texting this to your high school friends, again, 16 hours into this investigation, right?
Correct.
And you knew at that time, Trooper Proctor, that this was not going to implicate in any way, shape, form, or fashion another cop, correct?
Correct.
Incredible.
In this text exchange, let's turn to 2532, actually. You have that in front of you?
I do.
In this text exchange at 10:56 p.m., your buddy Bird writes, I'm sure the owners of the house will receive some shit, correct?
Correct.
How did you take that to mean? Did you take that to mean that he could get in trouble?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what my friend was getting at.
Well, you had some idea.
Yeah, maybe
The owners of the house isn't going to get any shit for this, right?
that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, you interpreted it like he's not going to get in any trouble. He's not going to be a suspect, correct?
Correct.
And he's not going to be implicated in any way. Is that right?
Correct.
And your answer was one word, correct?
Yes.
What was that word?
Nope.
And then you followed that up with an explanation as to why you said no, didn't you?
That wasn't the explanation why I said nope. I simply said homeowner is a Boston cop too, meaning Mr. O'Keefe was a Boston cop. The homeowner was a Boston cop as well.
The question that preceded your answer, nope, the homeowner's a Boston cop too, was the homeowner's going to get some shit for this, correct?
That's not what I meant with that text.
That's what you wrote.
Not what I meant, sir.
All right, let's take it in order. Question.
Oh boy.
Oh goodness, the homeowner's going to get some shit for this.
I know.
Answer, nope.
It's
Next
backwards.
text. He's a Boston cop
Her
too.
hair looks nice today.
That doesn't sound like an explanation for your nope.
No, that's just saying he's a Boston cop as well. Mr. O'Keefe is a
And that's
Boston
why
cop.
he's not going to get any shit, correct, Trooper Proctor?
Well, he's not going to receive any shit, sir, because Mr. Albert, the homeowner, had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death.
Oh my
And you
God.
knew this 16 hours into your investigation.
Yes.
Less than a day.
Yes.
To your satisfaction.
To my satisfaction
And
and
you
to the
hadn't
members
been
of my
to the
unit.
crime scene?
So let him finish. We didn't get finish
Some-
your answer.
To my satisfaction and to all the members of my unit who investigated that day.
Objection. Calls for speculation.
So I'm going to let it stand. Trooper Proctor, you have to keep your voice up, okay? Jurors need to hear you way back there.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact of the matter is, you hadn't been to the crime scene by the time you wrote this text, correct?
Correct.
You hadn't been inside the home, correct?
No.
You had you had questioned a grand total of 3 percipient witnesses at this point, correct?
Yes.
And 2 of the 3,
You know what else is interesting is that in that interview with Karen, the little snippet that they recorded, she says that thing about Colin and Brian Albert beating him up or whatever, and they just ignore it. Like they don't. Like it's crazy because what she said actually matters, right? And anyway, it's just
were named McCabe.
like
right?
it's bad enough if it's just because it was his house and he's a cop. But like add to that the fact that you had information that implicated them, right?
Correct.
And one of the three was named Albert, correct?
Yeah, Fender, that was, yeah, it was that little snippet. We haven't gotten to that on the recaps yet, but we heard it live, and it's really hard to hear. But the very first thing she says is, she says Colin and Brian Albert by name, and that's something like they beat John O'Keefe up or something at some point. I think she says a year ago or something, but still.
Yes.
And it's against that backdrop that you wrote, nope, the homeowner's not going to get any shit because he's a cop, right?
That's not what I meant by that.
At 10:57, Bird goes on to write, he, the homeowner.
I can't even compliment his tie again today because he's got a hideous outfit on. I'm not sure which witness. I'm not sure what are you referring to what I was saying with Karen or what?
Must have been a puddle to accomplish that. And then he writes, who's the homeowner? And then he writes, I hope not, but I can see it. Correct?
That's interesting.
Yes.
A puddle means drunk.
We've heard that word puddle used before. I believe it was with Brian Higgins when he was texting with John O'Keefe, actually. I think Brian Higgins actually used that word to describe himself after the sports ball event thing. The clip was with Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan at Karen Reed's house with the parents. It came out through Trooper Buchanan, and we're going to be getting to that on Friday, I believe, or Saturday, depending on if I cover the trial live. But that'll be in the next recap. That wasn't today. I was just referring to it because of the fact that it just makes it even more egregious that they didn't bother to look into Brian Albert, considering they had that statement from her that implicated them.
Correct?
That's a term for it, yes.
In other words, Bird wrote that the homeowner must have been so drunk, so wasted to have killed him. Correct?
Objection.
Do you know what that means? Do you know what that text means?
Just the puddle part, Your Honor. That term.
All right, so he can answer that.
And the puddle part means drunk or wasted, right?
Yes.
And what Bird actually wrote was, he must have been a puddle to accomplish that. Correct?
That's what he wrote.
And then you write back, quote, she waffled him. I looked at his body at the hospital, right?
Correct.
You used the phrase waffled about a Boston police officer who had fallen in the snow and died in someone's yard. And you decided to use the word waffled him, correct?
Objection.
So sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Did you answer, she
That was
waffled him? I looked at his body at the hospital.
compound.
I did answer that, yes.
And then Bird questioned, she waffled him, correct?
Yes.
And then you responded, he was banged up. Is that right?
Yes.
Then a person with the phone number 0095 wrote, I thought he was drunk. Did he get beat up? You see that?
I do.
Wow.
And you wrote, nope. Is that right?
Correct.
Yet again, this is before 11 o'clock at night on January 29th, 2022, some 16 hours into your investigation. Is that right?
Yes.
So before you ever went to the crime scene, before you ever went into the house,
Wow.
only having interviewed 3 folks, you had this case nice and wrapped up, didn't you?
Yes. Based on the evidence
And that would have included her, I believe, at this point.
my office uncovered that day, the one shoe discovered at the scene, the one shoe at the hospital, Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, the broken taillight pieces underneath the snow.
Super Proctor, I didn't ask for information. I asked, did you in your mind have this?
That's the only thing. I can't remember what day they interviewed Karen at her parents' house, but I feel like it was that same day.
wrapped up? Was it cut and dry in your mind?
Yes.
Bird then writes, so the owner of the house was a woman. Sorry, was a woman cop that beat him, question mark, right? Yes. And then you wrote,
Okay.
that's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedics.
Okay.
Is that right?
Interesting.
Yes.
And then you said, then I saw the guy, correct?
Correct.
So what you
So we were that the injuries. Okay. So we talked about this. This came out on Monday, and that whole thing about the woman cop was weird. And my guess to that was that it was like the game of telephone when you're a kid, where like they maybe heard something about a woman, as in Karen, and then something about a cop and something about beating up and homeowner, and combined all of those things. And that's how this got lost in the shuffle of a woman cop beating him up and owning the house or whatever. But that was interesting because what it sounds like is there was a text message that was left out on direct that would say something to the effect of like, a woman could never have done that much damage. Let's see what happens.
meant by that, Trooper Proctor, was according to you, based on your conversations, your initial conversations with the paramedics, the
Thank you,
first
Xander.
responders, you were under the impression that this was a beating death. he'd been beaten to death, correct?
The way it was given to me, sir, was
That's yes
for
or no?
medical.
That's yes
Oh,
or no?
he's going to answer the question. If you want
Go
to
ahead.
withdraw the question, you can.
No, go ahead.
We entered this investigation with an open mind. It was given to me as a medical situation. And when we saw Mr. O'Keefe's body at the hospital with Sergeant Buchanan and I, we saw his injuries and we were kind of working through how these injuries occurred.
As a matter of fact, both you and Sergeant Buchanan believed that he had suffered the injuries as a result of a physical altercation based on
Yeah.
information you
Yeah.
received from the paramedics initially, correct?
Yeah.
Initially, we didn't know what we had. We knew there was some significant injuries to Mr. O'Keefe. And we're still figuring out how those injuries occurred.
Well, you just testified. Initially, we didn't know what we had.
Right.
But 16 hours after the fact, you wrote the following sentence.
I know.
That's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedics, correct?
Correct.
So initially, you did think you knew what you had, a physical altercation leading to a death, correct?
Correct.
So when you just said, initially, we didn't know what we had, that wasn't quite true. You did at least have an idea of what you thought you had, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right. You were aware initially that John O'Keefe had suffered a 2-inch laceration to the back of his head, correct?
Yes.
That resulted in a skull fracture, correct?
Correct.
He had a laceration over his right eye, small laceration just under the eyebrow, correct?
Yes.
Had a laceration on his nose. Is that right?
Correct.
He had patterned scratches on his right arm, abrasions, scratches, correct?
Yes.
And he had no injuries below the neck.
Not that I observed, sir.
Not a single broken bone, correct?
Not that I was aware of.
Not a single fracture, correct?
Not that I was aware of.
Not a single bruise below the neck, right?
Not that I observed.
Looks a lot like a physical altercation, doesn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Bird writes, Bear, let's focus, correct?
Yes.
Who's Bear?
That's another nickname I have.
0095 writes, what does she waffled him mean? And then Bird writes, what's the story, correct?
Correct.
And you wrote, she hit him with her car. Is that right?
Yes.
Have you ever seen, in your experience, have you ever seen a pedestrian who was hit by a 6,000-pound car with no bruises? Ever?
Good question.
The pedestrian strikes I've seen have been at high speeds,
And that's
60
enough
plus.
A person out of his shoe, right?
60 plus miles per hour. So I can't recall off right now, top of my head, as far as injuries in the past pedestrian strikes I've attended.
Okay. So someone, you indicated on Monday, under examination by Mr. Lally, you've seen a shoe missing,
Correct.
pedestrian strikes, correct?
Yes.
Those are high speed, extremely high speed incidents, correct?
Yes.
60 plus miles an hour, right?
I can't recall all the pedestrian strikes I've been to as far as the miles per hour the vehicle is traveling.
Trooper Proctor, let me ask you the question again. Have you ever, yes or no, have you ever, in your experience, seen a vehicle pedestrian incident in which the pedestrian has no bruises?
Objection.
Have you seen that?
I can't recall.
Okay, next question.
Fucking hell. Lally.
After you wrote, she
I
hit
know,
him with
right?
a car, 5051,
Bear
writes, "Oh,
shit."
Jesus," and Bird writes, okay, that's fucked up, correct?
Correct.
And then you wrote what?
Intentional or not?
Intentional or not? Is that right?
Yes.
Your words.
Correct.
0095 then chimes in, gotcha. He was frozen in the driveway and she didn't see him? Question mark, correct?
Correct.
And you wrote what?
That's another animal we won't be able to prove.
So that intentional or not is interesting, right? Because again, this goes to his initial thoughts that it could have been an accident. But I also loved this one. This is the one I kept misquoting on Monday. That's another animal we won't be able to prove.
That's another animal we won't be able to prove, correct?
Correct.
Trooper Proctor, you knew that there were going to be things in this case, even 16 hours into this, that you just admitted you would have zero proof of, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Did you mean by that statement that this was one of several things that you knew we would not be able to prove?
That statement, that's another animal we won't be able to prove, references the intentional or not part.
You didn't care at that point when you wrote that, you didn't care what you could or could not prove, did you?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Isn't that what you meant?
No.
You had a narrative that you had developed and you would pursue it no matter what the proof was. That's what you meant by that statement, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently, Mr. Chair.
Did you mean by that, thank you, Your Honor, I didn't mean to step on your words. Did you mean by that statement that you were going to pursue this case no matter what the proof might be?
What I meant by that statement was if Miss Reed backed into Mr. O'Keefe intentionally or not.
Interestingly, though, that statement came on the heels of he was frozen in the driveway and she didn't see him.
Huh.
And you wrote in response
Frozen
to
in the
that
driveway.
question, that's another animal we won't be able to prove. Correct?
That's not what I was responding to. I was responding to the intentional or not part.
So you were
Frozen
responding
in
to your own statement. according to
Correct.
you. Okay.
What?
0095 then writes, what's the name of the Canton cop living in Canton? The other one involved.
Oh,
Correct?
Yes.
oh boy. Oh
In other
boy.
words, that person was asking,
Oh,
tell me
boy.
the name of the homeowner. Isn't that right?
Yes.
The guy that's the cop, right?
Correct.
And you ignored that question for a second time. Is that right?
Wow.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, not one time, not once in this entire group chat did you disclose the name Brian Albert. did you?
Wow.
I don't believe so. No.
You were
Wow.
actively trying to hide Brian Albert's name, at least from this conversation.
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that what you were trying to do?
Absolutely not.
But you had no problem sharing John O'Keefe's name with your buddies from high school, right?
Right.
Correct.
And you had no problem
Wow.
sharing Karen Reed's name with your buddies from high school, correct?
I don't believe I named the defendant.
Not yet, you didn't. Later in the chat.
Oh boy. Get him. Get him. Get him,
Okay, correct.
Jackson.
5051 then writes, the BPD have any jurisdiction here because it was their own? Question mark. Is that right?
Yes.
And a few texts later, if you look down a few texts, about 11 o'clock, you see a text that starts
Yeah,
not cat.
I don't know. I don't know, Fender, about that. I don't know about this.
I do so. Yes.
You responded, quote, nah, N-A-H, nah, cat, K-A-T-T. It's the total opposite. They have to recuse themselves. Same with Canton, correct?
That text ends as they
There
have to
you go.
recuse themselves.
Okay.
You then text back, I'm sorry, can I have a moment?
Yes.
Flip to that page.
I see where you're at, sir.
How did you end that text?
Same with Canton.
Meaning Canton has to recuse itself also, correct?
That was my understanding.
So by 11 p.m. on January 29th, 2022, there was no question in your mind, Trooper Proctor, that the Canton Police Department was recused from this investigation in all particulars, correct?
That they had taken a step back from participating. Yes.
Right. Well, there's one way to put it. They've taken a step back from participating. Another way to put it is they recused themselves completely, correct?
Correct.
They were not going to be, at least in your mind, they were not to be involved in any way, just like Boston PD was not to be involved in any way. Is that right?
Objection.
Is that what you were thinking?
It was my understanding they were
that's
not
a
going to
good
be
one.
involved.
I'll make-
Now, if we could turn to page 2537.
I wish I had the verbatim quote with the unprofessional thing. Like, it was unprofessional, blah, blah, blah.
5051 writes, but I assume you guys are out to make it cut and dry since it involves cops, correct?
Yes.
And Bird writes, something stinks, correct?
So Bird
Correct.
seems to know
And then
what's
Trooper
up.
Proctor, you responded, yeah, but there will be some serious
Shout out
charges
to
brought on the
Bird.
girl. Isn't that right?
That's right.
So in that text exchange, you were saying, yeah, we're out to make it cut and dry, correct?
No.
You didn't write, yeah, we're going to follow the evidence wherever it takes us. You didn't, did you?
I did
Man.
not write that.
You didn't write, yeah, we're going to make sure that we investigate this thing fully and thoroughly before making any decisions. You didn't say that, did you?
I did not.
You wrote, yeah, but there will be some serious charges brought on the girl. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And the reason you wrote that is because you knew, as the text
Wow.
above it says, this has to be cut and dry because it involves cops, right?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Is that the reason you wrote it?
No, Your Honor.
And then you indicated, we're going to put serious charges on the girl. Who did you mean by the girl, by the way?
The defendant.
Karen Reed?
Yes, sir.
So the way that you were going to make it cut and dry, pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right?
Objection.
Is that right?
Absolutely not. Follow the facts and the evidence from that day on the 29th. Everything led to Miss Reed hitting Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
But that wasn't the question that you were answering, was it? We're going to follow the evidence and make sure we do this thoroughly. The question you were answering was, I assume you guys, you, Trooper Proctor, and your team are going to, quote, make it cut and dry since it involves cops, meaning Brian Albert, correct?
Incorrect. Doesn't matter to me if the homeowner's a cop, if the victim's a police officer. Myself and everyone in my office investigated this case that Saturday, had an overwhelming amount of evidence that Miss Reed struck Mr. O'Keefe. So it didn't matter to us what their occupation was.
We'll see. Let's keep reading, shall we?
Oh, boy.
5051, a little further down, says, gotta be, I could only imagine what internal affairs at BPD are trying to get out there. Correct?
Correct.
Meaning, this person, 5051, was opining, at least in your mind, you interpreted that as being Boston police are going to have a lot to answer for, given the fact that another Boston police officer was found dead on that officer's lawn. Correct?
Objection.
What were you thinking?
I can't speak to the mindset to that comment. I wasn't sure how to interpret that one.
All right, next question, Mr. Jackson.
Then 5051 changes gears and he writes, she hot at least? Correct?
Yes.
And what was your response to that?
From all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job cunt.
From all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job cunt. That's what you wrote, correct?
Correct.
16 hours into this investigation,
Yes.
into your objective and unbiased, thorough investigation, correct?
Correct.
Don't forget professional.
But sir, you didn't have all accounts, did you?
What I meant by that was
Did you or did you not have all accounts in your investigation?
the accounts we had was Miss Reed struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle, discovered taillight pieces at the scene. Those are the accounts we had.
The accounts
And then
you
some.
had, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The accounts you had, Trooper Proctor, were from two people named McCabe and one named Albert, who happened to be the homeowner and a Boston cop. Those are the accounts from recipient witnesses that you had, correct?
There was another additional witness that we had investigators that interviewed, Miss Roberts as well.
And from all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. That was your decision 16 hours into the investigation, correct?
Yes.
And the other decision that you made and the other determination you came to was my client, Karen Reed, was a whack job cunt, right?
Yes.
What else did you say in response to she's hot at least? Or she hot at least, question mark.
So following that text, I responded, yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
Yeah, she's a babe. Who's the she?
Miss Reed.
Weird Fall River accent, though. You talking about her, the way she talks?
The accent.
And no ass. Now you're talking about her body, her physique, correct?
Yes.
You think that's appropriate?
Absolutely not.
Then Bird chimes in with a little comedy. Not newsworthy then, correct?
A little
Correct.
comedy.
In other words, well, she didn't have an ass. Nothing to see here, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
And then 5051 says, oh, she's skating, right?
Correct.
And what did you write after that?
My response was 0 chance she skated.
And then what did you write?
She's fucked.
0 chance she skates.
She skates?
She's fucked,
Oh.
right?
Correct.
Oh.
You decided on the 29th of January,
right.
17 hours into this
Okay.
investigation, you decided individually, Trooper Proctor,
Wow.
you're not only going to put it on the girl, you decided you're going to make sure this is cut and dry, and the way you're going to do it is to make sure that she's fucked. That's what you were saying.
Objection.
All right, so that's sustained. The content's fine. You have to ask it differently.
17 hours into this investigation, Trooper Proctor, you made the decision that you were going to put it on Miss Reed, didn't you? Put the case on Miss Reed. She was going to catch the case, correct?
No, absolutely not.
How can you say that?
What did you mean then when you said she's fucked?
After the day's investigation with multiple troopers conducting multiple tasks, and a debriefing at Canton PD amongst detectives in my office, we went through the overwhelming amount of evidence against Miss Reed that she struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle. That's what I meant by that comment.
What you meant by that comment, Trooper Proctor, was you were going to make sure because 5051 had said she's going to skate. She's skating. When you said 0 chance she skates, she's fucked. What you meant was I'm going to make sure, I am going to make sure Ms. Reed doesn't skate. She's fucked. That's what you meant, isn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
And then Bird decides to chime in. Good. No ass bitch, right?
Yes, that's what he wrote.
And how did you respond to Bird saying, "Good, no ass bitch"?
I laughed.
Thought that was funny, did you? Trooper Proctor? Thought that was funny?
It was unprofessional of me. That's something I shouldn't have done.
Well, I think we all know it was unprofessional. It was a lot of things. I'm asking
Yep.
you, did you think it was funny?
No, according to my response at the time, apparently.
Then you sent a picture, just to add to it, to pile on, of Miss Reed being arrested, correct?
I don't. I'm not sure if that came from me, sir.
Let's skip to 2543. Are you there, Trooper Proctor?
Yes.
The date is now February 2nd, 2022. A person by the name of Doc writes, "Is that chick a smoke?" Correct?
Correct.
Who's the chick?
Miss Reed.
And you write, E-H, right?
Yes.
And then you write nutbag, as Chief would say, correct?
Correct.
Who's Chief?
A friend of mine.
And then you write what?
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
Trooper Proctor, explain to the jurors what a balloon knot
Both
is.
blocking.
Your essentially, I guess, your rectum area.
Your anus?
Yes.
That's what you were referring to about Miss Reed?
Yes.
And you were making fun of her because you believed at that time that it leaked? That's how you were treating Miss Reed? Yes or no?
Yes.
And then you followed that up just to make sure you cleared up any mistake about what you meant with leaks poo, correct?
Objection.
All right, so I'm going to strike that. You could get this in, but do it the right way, Mr. Jackson.
You followed that up with the phrase leaks poo, didn't you?
I did.
Again, another reference to Miss Reed's medical issues and medical conditions, correct?
Correct.
Specifically focused on her anus, correct?
In reference, yes.
Were you aware at the time that you wrote this that Miss Reed had suffered a colectomy surgery, very serious surgery?
I was not, sir, no.
Were you aware that she had had 10 surgeries in 18 months, several years prior? 10.
I was not aware of that.
Were you aware that she had serious medical issues, gastrointestinal medical issues that she suffered, that she was a victim of for years? Did you know that?
Objection.
Sustained.
But you decided that you're going to take another shot at her and talk about her anatomy. 1 second, sir. I'm sorry. You decided that you were going to take another shot at her and talk about her anatomy as a balloon knot, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
At this point, Trooper Proctor, Miss Reed was just reduced to a punchline to you, wasn't she?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well, you weren't done yet. This chat doesn't end yet, does it?
No, sir.
Let's skip to 2543. On the same date, February 2nd, 2022, about 4:15 p.m., a person by the name of Whitey wrote, "What are you guzzling on?" Correct?
Yes.
And you wrote nothing, writing a warrant. Is that right?
Correct.
Whitey then shares some sort of a video, correct?
Yes.
You remember that video being of the 1980s band Warrant?
I don't recall the video he sent.
0095 laughed and then wrote, "Wait, why does her asshole leak?" Correct?
Oh my God.
Yes, that's what he wrote.
And then what did Doc write in response to that?
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained. I'll see it. Sidebar, take that down, please.
Wow. Just wow. Just wow. Yeah, I know. All right, let's jump forward past the sidebar. Wow. I don't even know. I mean, I guess we knew it was going to get worse, right? But
In the next exchange that you're looking at,
okay, here we go, guys.
You are unmuted.
Unmuted.
Trooper Proctor, without getting to the specifics of the words used in the following, in the next exchange that you're looking at, it's fair to say that your high school buddies then continue to discuss Ms. Reed's medical issues, correct?
Objection.
That's sustained. Come on, Mr. Jackson. That isn't what you said you'd ask. Go ahead and ask the question you said you'd ask.
Was there a continued discussion that finished on this subject matter?
Yes.
On Monday, you indicated that your conduct in this case, and specifically your conduct as reflected in these messages, how did you put it? It did not affect the integrity of the investigation, of your investigation, correct? What you
Correct.
said to the jurors.
Correct.
Do you know what the definition of integrity is?
Oh,
Doing the right thing when no one's looking.
It means the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you believe that integrity means being honest and having strong moral principles?
I believe that's part of it as well.
Do you stand by that testimony that you were showing strong moral principles in
wow.
this investigation, sir?
In the investigation part, absolutely. Through these text messages, absolutely not. They were juvenile and regrettable.
That, y'all, that is so juvenile and
Juvenile
regrettable.
and regrettable.
Yeah, thank you,
Sounds
Jackson.
like you're almost apologizing to the jury for your conduct. Is that what you're doing?
For those text,
Objection.
Sustained.
No, it's too
Proctor,
sorry
you
of an
apologize to Ms.
apology.
Reed?
It's not
Objection.
good enough.
Sustained.
As the lead investigator in this case, you were tasked with the responsibility of making sure that the investigation remained free of any conflicts of interest. It's part of your job, correct?
correct.
Throughout the pendency of this investigation, in this case, you've denied having any conflict of interest in this case. Isn't that right?
Correct.
In fact, a couple of months ago in February of 2024, you testified in a different proceeding. Is that right?
Yes.
And you testified under oath in that proceeding on February 1st that you did not know any members of the Albert family or McCabe family, correct?
Certain members of the Albert family I did not know. I know Chris and Julie and Colin. I don't know the McCabe's.
That wasn't my question. Did you testify? Let's take them one at a time. Did you testify under oath, same oath you took here today, in a former proceeding in February of 2024, that you did not know and did not have any relationship with members of the Albert and McCabe families? Did you?
I haven't had a chance to review those minutes. I've only had one opportunity to, and that was a couple months ago. So I would want to review those minutes in order to answer that accurately.
You can't remember how you testified, whether or not you knew or had relationships with the Alberts and McCabes?
Objection.
Sustained.
As you sit here right now, you need to refresh your recollection. You can't remember what you said.
Objection.
Do you remember what you said?
During that proceeding, no.
Would it refresh your recollection if you took a look at those grand jury minutes?
Yes.
What page, Mr. Jackson?
This is page 01563.
This is so insane because if you answered it correctly, why would you need to even refresh your recollection? Like he should know whether he knows them or not, right? Wow.
If I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
If you'd review that and look up when you're finished. There you go.
Okay.
Did that refresh your recollection about a question and answer that you had, or series of questions and answers that you had while you were testifying under oath in that other proceeding?
Yes, sir.
Objection. May we approach?
Yes.
Oh boy. All right, approach. I know it's a great point, though, Fender, about her defensive team. I was just talking to my mom about this yesterday because it is tough to think about, right? If she had and like another set of attorneys, it could be completely different.
It's the facts that I shared with everyone. Question, meaning you told first assistant.
A smidge. Okay, here we go.
You are unmuted.
Perfect.
May I interrupt? Yes. Thank you. You were asked the question, quote, did you communicate with First Assistant DA Beeland that you did not know and had no relationship with the Albert and McCabe families? And you answered, quote, to the best of my recollection, the same conversation took place with everyone I talked to about this because it's the same answer. It's the facts that I shared with everyone. Question, meaning you told First Assistant Beeland that you didn't know, didn't have a relationships with
Objection, Your Honor.
members of the Albert and McCabe families. Answer, correct.
Yes, that's
So,
correct.
so your question is whether he said this?
Correct. Whether that's his testimony. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And that's your testimony that you, in fact, told members of the DA's office that you did not know and did not have a relationship with the Alberts or McCabe's. Is that right?
I did not know the McCabe's. I don't know most of the Alberts, and I have little to no relationship with Chris and Julie. So that's what I meant by that answer.
Well, the question wasn't, did you know most of the Alberts? The question was, did you have a relationship with, or did you know the Alberts? And your answer was no,
No, I don't have a relationship with the Alberts.
or know them.
I don't know the McCabe's. I don't have a relationship with the Alberts.
Oh my God.
So you do
You
know
asked-
the Alberts, correct?
I know some of them, Julie and Chris.
And Colin, correct?
Correct, and Colin.
And you knew the Alberts when you gave this testimony in February of 2024. Is that right?
Yeah, that's asked if there was any relationships.
And let's try this again. Meaning you told First Assistant Beeland that you didn't know, didn't have relationships with members of the Alberts and members of the Albert and McCabe families. Answer, correct.
Mhm.
Was that ambiguous in your mind?
The way I interpreted relationships was basically being like friends or, communications, frequent communications. That's how I interpreted
Well, that might have been a
relationships.
good time to pipe up and say, well, I know Chris and I know Julie and I know Colin, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
That might have been a good time to answer the question. I know these three individuals from the Albert family, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
But your answer was one word, correct, right?
Yes.
You further testify that you never have gone to any supervisor at Massachusetts State Police to disclose even a potential conflict of interest in this case that you might have, correct?
Correct.
And you indicated the needs never come up. Is that right?
Correct.
You also told ADA Lally that you,
Oh,
quote,
boy.
did not have relationships or know members of the Albert or McCabe families, correct?
Correct.
And that's just not true, is it? You did know, you do know members of the Albert family. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
It's different from having a relationship with people.
But what about part of the question? Did not have relationships or know members of the Albert or McCabe families? How about that part of the question?
Well, that's lumped in with the McCabe's. I don't know the McCabe family, sir.
I see.
Oh
So
my
what you
God.
did, Super Proctor, is you dissected the sentence. And where relationships are concerned, you ignored that in terms of the Alberts because you don't have relationships. Where no is concerned, you link that to the McCabe's because you don't know the McCabe's. That's what you did?
No.
Objection.
So it's sustained. You can ask it. You can break it down, Mr. Jackson.
Not sure I can. I'll ask it a different way. How about if I just ask it this way? That was a lie, wasn't it?
No, absolutely not.
You stand by that testimony?
Yes.
That you don't know at the time that you testified, that you didn't know the Alberts or any members of the Albert family?
They don't have relationships with them.
Okay. My question is, you keep going back to relationships. I'm asking you, did you testify that you didn't know them?
Objection.
I'll let him have it. Do you understand the question, Trooper?
I knew Chris, Julie, and Colin.
So if you were to say, I don't know any members of the Albert family, that would have been a lie, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor, this is the point at which I intend to turn to tab 3 and moving approach.
Okay. Jurors, feel free to stand.
He said it was the point in which he was going to do what? Something. Let me rewind that. I couldn't hear what he said. Turn something free.
To tab 3 and moving.
Oh, turn to tab 3. We need to push. Okay, got it. Cool. Yeah, Young Thug's lawyer is awesome. Mark Eiglarsh also. He's one of my favorites. We're still approaching. Wow, this is a long one. Holy shit. Wow. Wow. All right. Tab 3. Here we go.
Trooper Proctor, you've indicated that your sister is one of your best friends, maybe your best friend.
Yes.
Courtney Proctor, that's your name? Courtney
Correct.
Proctor, Elberg?
I'm sorry?
Her last name?
Elberg.
Elberg with an L. And you're aware that she is also very, very good friends with Jillian Daniels, Julie Albert.
Correct.
Are you aware of any circumstance in which any of the Alberts have been over to your parents' house?
Yes.
Have you ever been over at your parents' house when any of the Alberts have been at your parents' house?
Yes.
Those Alberts include Chris Albert, Julie Albert, Colin Albert, correct?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, you were on or around January 29th, 2022, you were close enough friends with Julie Albert that she had your personal cell phone in her cell phone, correct? And vice versa.
I wouldn't classify us as close friends at all.
Okay, let me get back to my question. Did you have her cell phone in your phone and did she have yours?
I can't recall if I believe I had her stored in my phone.
Tab 4. All right, if you would turn to tab 4,
And what was this marked for ID?
this was,
Well, tell me the numbers at the bottom.
oh, I've got the sheet right here. I've got a cheat sheet. Tab 4 is triple B,
Okay.
as in Bravo. And Your Honor, for the court, I'm looking at page 2625. You have that in front of you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize the participants in this chat?
I do.
The number ending in 5374, you recognize it as being from Julie Albert?
Based off the content of the message, yeah, I recognize this text message from Julie.
And she texts, "This is the weekend I've been waiting for. Michael, please send ski videos if CP doesn't share with me," with a laughing face, correct?
Correct.
That text was sent on February 24th, 2022, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was less than a month after Mr. O'Keefe's death, isn't that right?
Correct.
And less than a month after you had been assigned to the investigation in which Julie Albert was a witness, correct?
Correct.
And her husband, Chris Albert, was a witness, correct?
Correct.
And her son, you knew, Colin,
Yeah.
was involved as well, correct?
Yes.
Who is CP in that text message?
It's a nickname I have for my sister.
Courtney Proctor, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, if I may have just a moment.
Okay.
Sometime. Can we move to Trooper Proctor to tab 5, please? That's triple C as in Charlie. Do you have that in front of you, sir?
Yes.
And this would be page 2664. If you return to that page, please.
Okay.
Trooper Proctor, on January 19th, 2022, 10 days before Mr. O'Keefe's death, you were texting with your sister about whether Julie Albert might be available to babysit for your own son, correct?
Yes.
So in fact, your relationship with the Alberts was close enough that you would consider leaving your own child in the hands of Julie Albert as a babysitter, as a caregiver for your toddler, correct?
I wouldn't say close enough. I've hired babysitters that I've had out, but
He's
I
like,
don't
I'd
know.
leave my kid anywhere on the street. Hi,
Julie Albert was among them.
ESN. Happy to see you.
Yes, she was an option to watch my child.
And then you personally interviewed Julie Albert and Chris Albert in this case on February 10th, 2022.
Sergeant Buchanan and I did, yes.
And you didn't mention a thing about your relationship with Julie Albert, Chris Albert, or Colin Albert in any report that you ever drafted in this case, did you?
I did not.
Not one word, correct?
No, sir.
You interviewed Julie and Chris Albert at about 5:30 p.m. on the 10th of February, isn't that right?
Yes.
Did either of them, Julie or Chris Albert, mention that their son Colin Albert had been at 34 Fairview Road on the night in question? January 29th?
I'd have to reread the report to refresh my memory on their statements.
Well, let me ask it a different way. If I may have just a moment.
Yes.
You wrote a report on October 12th, 2022, correct?
For which,
Concerning your interview with,
Why don't you show it to him?
I may have the wrong report. Do you recall, Trooper Proctor, ever mentioning that whether or not Julie and Chris mentioned to you that their son had been at 34 Fairview on January 29th? Do you recall that as you sit here?
to the best of my recollection, no.
It was a very short interview with Julie and Chris, was it not?
It was typical length for the information they had to offer.
So you started the interview about 5:30 p.m. It must have been relatively short because you received a phone call by 6:17 from Julie Albert herself, correct?
I don't have the call detail record in front of me, but okay, yes.
Let's look at tab 6, please. Oh, it may not be in your book.
It's not, sir.
Okay, fair enough.
Y'all, I'm wondering if this is going to go all day, because they're only
You might
just
need to look at a phone record or a phone log to determine whether or not that call was made and what time it was made, correct?
If you
they're
have that,
only just
please.
going through this communication with like conflicts of interest with family and stuff. I mean, this is like the tip of the iceberg. They've not even gotten to like the heart of
Thank you.
the
It's a
investigation.
highlighted portion, Trooper Proctor. Focus your attention on that and let me know if that refreshes your reflection.
It does, sir. Thank you.
May I approach?
Yes.
You received after your interview, you received a phone call from Julie Albert about 6:17, about 45 minutes after you began the interview and then left, correct?
Yes.
6:21, you called her back and you spoke for 3 minutes and 58 seconds. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you discuss the interview?
I don't recall the contents of that conversation.
And of course, you never memorialized that in any report, did you? The fact that you had a subsequent phone call with Julie Albert on your personal cell phone.
I did not.
Let's turn to tab 5 one more time. If you could turn to page 2677. Trooper Proctor, after your interview with Julie Albert, your sister, Courtney, texted you, "How did it go at Julie's? She was so nervous." You recall that?
Yes.
In fact, you responded to that with a ha, 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 ha. 4 ha's, right?
Wow.
And then why, question mark, correct?
Correct.
Then you responded, "It was fine, just a quick convo," correct?
Yes.
You were literally reporting back to your sister about the progress of your investigation in a homicide investigation, weren't you?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Were you reporting your progress to your sister about your investigation?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Okay.
All right, another approach. Let's Roger that, guys. Yeah, the binder is big. That's
Told her it was fine.
Okay, hold on.
No, absolutely not.
That was not a long one. All right, that's probably good. Coolio.
You are unmuted.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Were you reporting your progress of your investigation back to your sister, Courtney Proctor?
No, absolutely not.
But you did say that the conversation, the formal interview went fine. It was just a quick convo, correct?
In response to my sister indicating Julie was nervous, that's why I told her it was fine.
Trooper Proctor, Julie and Chris Albert were not actually treated like witnesses in a murder investigation. They were treated more like friends. Wouldn't you agree?
Objection.
Is that true?
Absolutely not.
What the fuck?
We've established that you're very close with your sister, Courtney, correct?
Correct.
You provided your sister with updates on important advancements during the course of your investigation into this case. Did you not periodically?
I made her aware of newsworthy stuff.
That started as early as January 29th, 2022. Isn't that right?
Why would you do that? If it was
Don't know the
newsworthy,
exact
you'd
date
watch
or
it on the
content.
news.
Well, the day of the incident, you began letting her know that you were involved, that you had been assigned, what the status was,
Yes.
the nature of the case, that
Correct.
it was a homicide, correct?
Yes.
Matter of fact, you discussed who the players were, who the people were that were involved. Isn't that right?
I just mentioned Julie and Chris were out earlier in the evening.
So you mentioned the Alberts, correct?
Julie and Chris, yes.
You also mentioned the McCabe's too, didn't you? At some point.
Yes.
At 2668, Your Honor, that's the page that I'm referring to. Okay. This one. You write homicide, correct?
So I said 2668.
Correct. If I have my page number correct.
You're on the right page, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
You wrote the word homicide. Is that right?
Yes,
You were describing to your sister the nature of the case that you are now assigned. Is that right?
correct.
She wrote the Canton thing is a homicide, and you wrote don't say a word to anyone. Correct?
Correct.
And then she wrote of course not. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you wrote what?
In the very least, it's suspicious.
In the very least, it's suspicious. Correct?
Correct.
So at that time, at least at the time that you wrote that text on the 29th at 3:05 in the afternoon, you believed that the case was suspicious, right?
It was before we found significant pieces of evidence.
So you believed that it was suspicious that it may involve the Alberts, right?
Absolutely not.
She then writes, this is your livelihood, didn't she?
She did.
Meaning this kind of case could make or it could break your career, right?
Objection.
Existing.
She then wrote, I would never mess with that. Is that right?
Yes.
Your sister, Trooper Proctor, was warning you that you shouldn't be investigating a case in which close friends or family members were involved.
Objection.
Existing.
Did you take her text, this is your livelihood, I would never mess with that, as a warning from her that you shouldn't be investigating a case that involved close friends?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Absolutely not. That was in response to don't say a word to anyone. And that was how I interpreted this is your livelihood. I would never mess with that.
A couple of minutes later, 3:07 on January 29th, you told your sister, quote, Julie and Chris were at the bar with the victim and girlfriend. Got to interview them. Is that right?
Yes.
So you were telling Courtney, your sister, updates on what your investigation advancements were, correct? Who
Just
you're gonna
that part.
interview, why you're going to interview them.
Yes.
She wrote, you got to be kidding me, correct?
Correct.
Did you take that as you got to be kidding me? The Alberts are involved?
No, absolutely not.
Wow.
And then you wrote, it's not a big deal, correct?
Correct.
And then she wrote, I bet I know the person. Sounds like it is, meaning it is a big deal,
Wow.
right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what she meant with those messages there.
But she did write, I bet I know the person, didn't she?
She did write that, yes.
And you know she's very close with the Alberts, correct?
And she's close with Julie and Chris.
You then wrote, no, I meant, or you wrote not. I think you meant no. I meant that they were at the bar with them, correct?
Yes.
She writes, yeah, I got that part. And then she continues on, but I know a lot of their friends, correct?
Yes.
Did you see a problem in this exchange?
Nothing jumped out at me.
Your sister's literally explaining that your family friends are suspects or possible suspects in a murder investigation that you're in charge of, correct?
Objection.
Existing.
On January 30th, 2022 at 9:13 in the morning, your sister texted you again, quote, Jesus Christ. The party was at one of the Alberts, correct?
Yes.
And you two were discussing the fact that, to put it in her words, Jesus Christ, these are our friends, right?
Objection.
Existing.
How did you take her Jesus Christ? The party was at one of the Alberts with 2 exclamation points. How did you take that?
That's the way I'm interpreting my sister's text messages was that surprised and shocked that this is where Mr. O'Keefe was found on the front lawn of that residence.
Could it be Jesus Christ? We know these people.
Again, that's how I read that message.
You don't deny, Trooper Proctor, that you were routinely disclosing to your sister pretty intimate details about the investigation, correct?
I wouldn't say intimate. I'd say newsworthy stuff or just generic, nothing
Well,
too specific.
newsworthy, would you have gone to the news at this point?
That's what I,
in the
that's what
investigation?
I
Would you go to
said.
the news
That's what
and
I said. If it was newsworthy, she could have just
Julie
gone
and
on the
Chris
news.
were at the bar. I got to go interview him.
Objection.
Allow that. Is that what you do, Trooper?
No, I would not do that, sir.
So it's not newsworthy. These were details, internal details about the investigation, weren't they?
Yes,
And you were sharing them with your sister,
Aha.
Courtney Proctor, correct?
correct.
John
And Courtney
Jackson.
Proctor's best friend is Jillian Daniels, and one of her closest friends is Julie Albert, right?
Correct.
Then on February 1st, 2022, your sister texts you that she's actually meeting with Julie Albert, didn't she?
Yes,
And that was before you ever interviewed Julie, correct?
yes,
So it appears that Courtney was providing information to Julie of some sort before you were able to actually interview her. Is that right?
Objection.
Sustain.
She was, well, let me ask it this way. You don't deny that Courtney was meeting with Julie before you interviewed her, correct?
correct.
And you don't deny that you had been providing information about the case with Courtney before you interviewed Julie, correct?
Provided information that Julie and Chris were at the waterfall and I needed to interview them. Yes, that's the information I shared.
And who knows what you shared verbally, not in text messages, correct?
Objection.
Did you, we have text messages, Trooper Proctor. Did you share other information on phone calls with Courtney?
No.
So the only information we're to believe, you talk to her 5 to 6 times a day. The only information that you claim you shared with Courtney about the details of the investigation are contained in these texts which we have.
Objection.
I'll let you answer that. Can you answer that?
The information that I share with my sister contained within these texts, yes.
You never discussed this case verbally, over the phone or in person with Courtney.
On the phone, I'm sure there's been conversations that's things that have been newsworthy items that have gone
Oh my
to
God.
the news. There's definitely been conversations in that regard.
Then before you ever interviewed Julie, your sister informed you that Julie actually wanted to get you a gift for your participation on this case, correct?
Yes,
In tab 5, let's turn to page 2672, Trooper Proctor. With court's permission, may we publish?
Yes.
That page, 2672. You see the text from you, what's up?
yes.
And what's Courtney Proctor's response?
Nothing. I just saw Julie and she said, when this is all over, she wants to get you a thank you gift. And I respond with, get Elizabeth one.
Hang on just a second. Let's take a
This
minute.
one was one of my
You were
favorites
asked about this on direct examination by Mr. Lally, right?
because this really
You
speaks
looked at
to
the
the
jurors,
corruption.
paused, and said, I never asked for a gift. I never received
Yep.
a gift.
Yep.
Elizabeth never asked for a gift.
Yep.
She never received a gift.
You
Remember
said
that?
that.
Correct.
I remember.
You said you never asked for a gift, correct?
It's lying.
Correct.
What's your next text?
Right.
Get
Yeah,
Elizabeth one,
Yep. I
Give
caught
Elizabeth won what?
a gift.
referring to a gift
What an idiot. What a
You
fucking
did, in
idiot.
fact,
man.
ask for a gift, didn't you?
for my wife who had been home with my children for the last 10 nights.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
said you didn't ask for
Yes.
to get
For your
one. Oh my
participation in
God.
this case.
I don't know if that's, yes.
Well, Courtney Proctor answers that question by saying, because I guess her and Chris were friends and John, and she's so proud of you for leading this investigation, correct?
Correct.
You're aware during the course of your investigation, well, let me ask it this way. Let me ask a foundational question. Do you pull phone records as a matter of course in investigations of this nature?
Yes.
Did you pull phone records in this case, variously?
The phone records of
Of anybody? Witnesses, suspects,
not witnesses, Mr.
official people, whatever?
We didn't pull full phone records of witnesses.
Victim?
Victim and Miss Reed.
During the course of your investigation, did you become aware that there were 67 calls between Julie Albert and your sister, Courtney, in the
Wow.
months following John O'Keefe's death?
Objection.
I'm going to sustain that objection.
Did you become aware during the course of your investigation of the level of communication between Julie Albert, one of the witnesses on the case, and your sister?
Objection.
I'm sustaining that objection. You can come try and convince me otherwise if you want, Mr. Jackson.
I can ask it a different way, Your Honor. Thank you. Did you ever seek information about phone calls and communications that Julie Albert may or may not have been having with anybody else?
No.
Didn't download her phone, didn't seek her phone records.
No.
Did Courtney ever tell you that she had consistent communications with Julie Albert? Or did you know that otherwise?
Objection.
During the months, let me ask it this way, during the months following John O'Keefe's death, you did continue to have consistent communications with Courtney, though, didn't you?
Yes, I speak to my sister every day.
Trooper Proctor, were you using Courtney, your sister, as an intermediary between you and Julie Albert?
Absolutely not.
You were well aware from the very beginning of your investigation that Colin Albert was, in fact, at 34 Fairview on the night in question, right?
Yes.
Matter of fact, you testified at the grand jury, the state court grand jury on this case, that you knew that Colin Albert was at the location, right?
Yes.
Did you make any concerted efforts to keep Colin Albert's name out of this investigation?
No.
Why is it, Trooper Proctor, that Colin Albert's name fails to appear in a single police report until
Yeah.
July 18,
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting to this.
2023?
Yeah.
Colin Albert was not at the home. He left at
Stop.
approximately 12:10 a.m. before
He's repeating.
anyone from the waterfall had arrived back there.
Y'all.
Let's
Uh,
look at,
Y'all.
obviously, part of the job of an investigator is to be as complete and thorough as possible.
Do you guys remember? Does that ring a bell to anybody? What he just said? Because he says that Colin Albert wasn't there at the same time as everybody else, or he left, blah, blah. Does that ring a bell to any of you guys? I mean, this is insane. They all said this exact same thing. It's the stupidest bullshit answer ever. But it's like, clearly they all like practiced this, because I don't think it's possible for this many people to even come up with such a dumb answer independently of each other, because it's just that dumb.
Correct?
Yes.
You don't just take someone's word for something. You look for corroborating evidence, don't you?
Yes.
Matter of fact, you wouldn't take a witness's word for almost anything in a reasonable investigation, would you?
Objection.
Would you?
If-
You can have that.
If I find the witness to be credible and have no reason to lie, then yes, I would take their word.
Would you try to support a witness's statement, or witnesses with an apostrophe, S apostrophe, their statements with corroborating evidence?
Yeah, potentially.
That corroborating evidence might be talking to other witnesses, right?
Yes.
It might be looking at cell phone data, correct?
Correct.
It might be looking at geolocation data, correct?
Yes.
You're trying to find out where someone is. You might pull information from their phone concerning geolocation data, right?
Yes.
You might pull cell tower information, right?
If if there's a need for it.
There's myriad ways that you can find out whether someone's telling the truth about where they were and when they were there, right?
Right.
Let's take a look at your handwritten notes from your interview with Juliana Nagle on October 5th,
Oh,
2022.
Oh,
This should be
boy.
tab 7.
Oh, boy. Sister Nagle.
What is it for identification?
Sister
My mistake. I
Nagle.
thought it was in the tab. It's not. This is a 3-page document. I'll just refresh his recollection with this.
Okay, show
Right.
Mr. Lally and then go ahead.
Of course. Let me ask a
Wow.
foundational question, Trooper Proctor. Do you remember exactly what's in your notes from a conversation that you had
Sister
on
Nagle.
October 5th, 2022?
I don't know.
Do you think it would refresh your recollection to take a look at your handwritten notes?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sister Nagle.
Take a look at that. And first, let me just ask you if that refreshes your recollection.
It does, sir.
Are those your notes, your handwritten notes from this, at least from partially from this investigation?
Yes.
Does that reflect your handwritten notes based on a conversation that you had with Juliana Nagle on or about October 5th, 2022?
Now he's really having to take his time reading this one. Huh. I'm wondering if this means that this is really bad. Because why is it taking him so long? Or does he need a flashlight? He might need a flashlight.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is this going to be an accurate representation or an accurate copy of your notes from your interview with Juliana Nagle?
Yes.
Your Honor, with court's permission, I would like to have this marked as next.
Introduced into evidence?
Correct.
Is there an objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection sustained?
Is it true that in your handwritten notes, you list the following individuals based on Juliana Nagle's conversation with you as being at 34 Fairview? Brian, Juliana, Mary Kent, Emily Fabiano, Courtney Alba, Colin Albert, and Sarah Levinson. Correct?
Correct.
All right.
You then drafted a report memorializing your conversation with Juliana Nagle, correct?
Yes.
And that report is a formal memorialization of your interview based on your investigation, correct?
Yes, a summary of the conversation for the interview.
And that report is the thing that's turned over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Yes.
And the report is the thing that's entered into discovery and provided to the defense.
Correct.
And isn't it true that in that report,
Oh boy.
you list the individuals that were at 34 Fairview as Brian,
Oh boy.
Mary Kent,
Oh boy.
Emily Fabiano, Sarah Levinson.
Y'all, no way. He did not.
Is that correct?
No.
Yes.
Oh,
What's the one name
what?
that was
the
left out of your
fuck?
report?
No way.
Objection.
Oh, come on.
Was there one name left out?
So
Break that down.
Wow.
Sure.
You
Isn't it
guys.
true that in your report,
There you
you
go.
excluded the one name, Colin Albert, from the list of individuals that
Wow.
are in your notes?
yes, because he arrived later in the evening.
Shut the
The other
fuck up.
females were
No.
there from the start.
No.
At
No.
the time that you wrote your report, the formal report, this one,
Mhm.
you did not believe that your handwritten notes were also going to be disclosed, did you?
I knew that was a possibility.
When you finally did get around to interviewing Colin Albert, you personally conducted that interview, did you not?
Yes.
Colin
Along with
Albert
Trooper
told you
Zach
this-
Clark.
One at a time.
I'm sorry.
Finish your answer, Trooper.
Please go ahead.
Yes, along with Trooper Zach Clark in my office.
Colin Albert told you that he was picked up by Ally McCabe from his uncle's house at 12:10 a.m., correct?
Correct.
Ally McCabe also told you that she picked up Colin Albert at 34 Fairview at 12:10 a.m. and then
Mhm.
dropped him off at his house, correct?
Correct.
And then she
Okay.
indicated that she went straight home after that, right?
I'm glad we're getting
Yes.
back to this.
Did you conduct any further investigation to determine whether Colin Albert and Ally McCabe were actually telling the truth about that time?
Ah,
We did not.
Just took
wow.
them at their word, correct?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, you realize you had a forensic image at the time. You had a forensic image of Jennifer McCabe's cell phone in your possession, right?
Oh my
Correct.
God.
You're also aware that she has a Life 360 app on her phone that tracks the location of Ally McCabe, correct?
I was not aware the app tracked her daughter. I knew of the Life 360 app, but I wasn't aware of the capability of her tracking her daughter.
Did you bother to look at Jennifer McCabe's Life 360 app to determine whether Colin Albert and Ally McCabe were telling the truth about the time that they supposedly left 34 Fairview?
Objection.
Did you do that online?
I did not.
Wow.
We'll take a look at tab 8. Do you recall looking at all at a Life 360 app or its data from Celebrate Report?
Objection.
System.
Did you or did you not look at any data from Life 360 from Jennifer McCabe's phone?
Objection.
All right, so this is a good time to take the morning recess, and I'll see council in about 15, 20 minutes. You guys okay?
All right, y'all, we're going to zoom on through this. All right. This is going to get us pretty close to caught up. Are they still there? Oh, no, they just came back. All right, here we go.
Trooper Guarino was our cell phone expert, kind of handled that, so I'm not positive if that report, if he generated that report.
Okay, so it goes without saying, I shouldn't say that because if it goes without saying, I shouldn't say it. Did you review a Life 360 report in an effort to determine whether or not Colin and Ally were telling the truth?
No.
You grew up in Canton, did you not?
Yes.
I don't want an address, but just generally as a crow flies, how close would you say you live from the Albert residence at the former Albert residence at 34 Fairview in Canton?
2-3 miles,
How about from the McCabe residence? Again, don't give me any addresses.
maybe a mile.
You know, given the fact that you grew up in Canton, that it's about a mile walk through some woods to get to Canton High School from 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
Did you have any Canton police officers canvass the area around the high school or filling stations around the high school, gas stations around the high school for video surveillance footage?
No.
Did you have any conversations with anybody from Canton about video surveillance concerning the high school and or surrounding gas stations?
Yes.
Who is that?
It was Officer Galanis.
Can you turn to tab 9, please? First, let me ask you if you recognize these texts with any individual.
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize those texts?
That was a text communication between Officer Galanis and myself.
Taking a look at those text communications, do you see the inclusive dates of those on the face sheet
Yes,
document?
I do.
What are those inclusive dates?
First message sent, date and time, February 18th, 2022, 1:02 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, February 18th, 2022, 2:05 p.m.
These are texts on a single day, correct?
That's correct.
If you would look at page 2623. Your Honor, may I publish?
Is there any objection?
Same one, but
I'll let you publish it.
Thank you. Yes, you may. In this text, you're asking a member of the Canton Police Department to look around the surrounding area of 34 Fairview Road for camera equipment, correct?
I was asking if they had any knowledge of cameras in the area.
Okay. And of course, that was to an officer who was employed by which department?
Canton Police Department.
Which you knew at the time that you asked for assistance in February of 2022 had been recused from the case, correct?
Correct.
And should have no investigative involvement in the case, correct?
I did not request for them to pull video. I just simply asked, what are some good cameras in the area?
Which is an assistance for you in your investigation, correct?
They have more knowledge in the area as far as useful cameras. So yes, I reached out regarding cameras in the area.
For assistance from Canton PD officers, correct?
Yes,
Whom you knew to be recused.
yes,
correct? Yes.
Yeah.
You specifically asked Officer Galanis whether, quote, the high school had cameras facing the street, correct?
correct.
And Officer Galanis writes back, the Canton Mutual gas station has unreal cameras. That's how I picked up that kid, and it had him walking into the woods by the new street Larkin Court, correct?
Correct.
You responded, good to know, I'll add that to the list, correct?
Yes.
Did any of the reports you turned over in discovery ever mention the Canton Mutual gas station cameras or the cameras from Canton High School?
No, because we did not retrieve any video from those locations.
And you didn't mention in your report that you even sought the footage from those locations, correct?
I don't believe so.
You did say that you would add it to the quote list, is that right?
Yes,
And you're aware, obviously, as one of your responsibilities to maintain and keep your handwritten notes from all communications, all investigative activities involved in the case, correct?
yes,
And you have no notes on this conversation, correct?
correct.
As the lead investigator, Super Proctor, you are responsible ultimately for deciding which witnesses will be interviewed and which witnesses will not be interviewed, correct?
Like I mentioned yesterday or Monday, it's a collaborative effort within the office. So we bounce ideas off each other as far as what witnesses need to be interviewed, et cetera. So it's more of a group effort, a group decision.
But as the case officer, you make some of the final decisions on who's going to be investigated, who's going to be interviewed, things of that nature, right?
It facilitates certain areas, yes.
I want to talk about some of the witnesses that you interviewed in the days and weeks immediately following Mr. O'Keefe's death. You interviewed Brian Albert, correct?
Correct.
Nicole Albert, yes?
Yes,
Chris Albert,
yes,
Julie Albert,
yes,
Jennifer McCabe,
yes,
her husband Matt McCabe.
correct.
All those individuals are related in one way or another, either through marriage or otherwise, to each other, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
And you also interviewed Brian Higgins, is that right?
Yes,
I want to talk for a second about the individuals that you did not immediately choose to interview. Julie Nagle wasn't interviewed until October 2022, correct?
correct,
That's 7 months after the incident, right?
correct,
Sarah Levinson was not interviewed until October of 2022.
I would say
also
Brother
7 months later,
Nagle
correct?
and
Caitlin Albert was interviewed July 6th, 2023, correct?
yes,
That's 16
I
months
agree,
after the
Fender.
incident. Is that right?
correct.
Brian Albert Jr., July 6th, 2023, right?
Yes, sir.
Ally McCabe, August of 2023, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's 18 months after the incident, correct?
Correct.
Heather Maxon, she was not interviewed until September 21st, 2023, 17 months later, correct?
Correct.
Or that's actually, my math is off, that's about 18 months later, is that right?
Correct.
Richard D'Antano, September 2nd, 2023, is that right?
Yes,
So you waited more than 18 months to interview him as well, is that right?
yes,
And then Brian Loughran, snowplow driver, August 2023, 17 months after the incident, correct?
correct.
I want to talk for a second about this last individual, Brian Loughran. He also goes by the name Lucky, is that right?
Yes,
Lucky Loughran? You testified under oath on April 21st, 2022 in the state court grand jury proceeding that no snowplow traveled down Fairview Road
Oh boy.
on January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Why did you say that, Trooper Proctor?
That was based off interviews with Mr. Trotter, that the plows weren't out until they met up at 2:30. And then
Oh.
it was my understanding they were focusing on the main roadways.
You're aware that Michael Trotter testified in this case?
Okay.
Were you aware or not?
No.
Okay.
That's why they called
You did
him.
in fact interview Michael
Okay.
Trotter, did you not?
Yes.
And isn't it true that Michael Trotter told you that in fact Brian Loughran was plowing 34 Fairview that morning?
Objection.
Is that what he told you?
I don't recall that statement from him.
Michael Trotter testified that that's what he told you. Do you have any quarrel with that?
Objection.
That's his statement.
In reality, Trooper Proctor, you did not want to speak to anybody in the weeks and months following this incident who didn't fit your narrative, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that true?
That's simply not true. Absolutely not.
I think this is really important because again, the defense has done all this really hard work all since the beginning of trial all the way up to now with every single witness. Remember, they had that same thing, and it was like it was something the jury could count on. That every single witness, they were going to ask them, when were you interviewed? And the answers got more and more outrageous until we heard that somebody was interviewed when the trial already started. And the jury already knows that that's true. Like, and the fact that that's, in other words, like they've really done a great job, even just through cross-examination, of laying the groundwork to where he's set up to come in at the end of the, or towards the end of the Commonwealth's case in chief. And just, if the jury was on the fence at all, like just to show like this entire thing is just a disaster, like it's just all fucked.
Certainly you didn't want to talk to anybody who could say that there was no body on the lawn at 2:30 in the morning. Is that right?
No, it's not true.
Are you aware that Lucky Loughran, in fact, did
Yeah.
report that there was nobody on
Objection,
the
Your
lawn?
Honor.
So the objection sustained. I'm going to strike them.
Did you include anything in your investigative report throughout the entire time you've been in charge of this investigation about Lucky Loughran and his observations?
Not until Sergeant Buchanan and I interviewed him.
And that was when?
I can't recall the exact date.
And that was after the defense brought him to your attention, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Not true?
Ooh.
Correct.
He thought he wasn't going to have to
Still the
answer that. And he
conservative
was like, nah, that's
in
not
charge of this
right.
case?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
As the lead investigator and the case agent, you're aware it's also your responsibility and your obligation to investigate all potential individuals, right? All potential suspects.
Yes.
You're obligated to investigate anybody who would have a motive, a means, and an opportunity to commit the crime or the offense, correct?
Correct.
Motive includes anything from financial gain to could just be revenge, right?
Yes.
Could be a lover's quarrel, correct?
Yes.
Or it could be someone who's interested in someone romantically, correct?
Ooh.
Could be an argument inside of a vehicle.
Higgins.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you, what
I
was
didn't
your
hear
answer?
So, or it could be an argument contained inside a vehicle as well.
Ah, yeah, which is the
Oh,
conclusion you
wow.
jumped
He
to
did not.
17 hours into your investigation, right?
What?
Objection.
Overruled.
Is that right?
It's
Wow. Wow, that was a bold statement.
something,
Holy
evidence
shit.
we have
Holy
contained within
shit.
cell phones reiterates that fact.
You don't,
Well,
you,
That
when
is
you
some
decided
on evidence.
that you were going to make sure that the girl, I think that's what you called her, the girl, was going to have serious charges brought against her 17 hours into your investigation, you didn't have any evidence whatsoever that there was an argument inside the vehicle, did you?
To go towards intent? No. But as far as the physical evidence goes, we have compelling evidence indicating Miss Reed struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
So you just did
Okay,
this.
Mr. Jackson, I just have to keep your voice up, Trooper Proctor, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
You just did this piecemeal. So when you decided that the girl, Ms. Reed, was going to get serious charges against her, didn't have any indication of any intent. You just decided, oh, okay, I'm just going to go with the physical evidence today. I'll figure out intent later. I'll figure out motive later.
Well done, Jack.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
Motive, means, and opportunity. We talked a little bit about motive. What about means? The physical ability to commit the crime, right? That's obviously important.
Yes.
And the opportunity. It's a physical proximity to the incident, correct? Or the
Correct.
physical ability to commit the crime, correct?
Correct.
Did you investigate all potential suspects who would have had the motive, means, and opportunity to kill John O'Keefe?
No.
Yes, and that motive means factored in with the physical evidence pointed directly at Miss Reed. There's no one else had any motive. Mr. O'Keefe never went inside Fairview Road.
And you got all that, of course, from the Alberts and the Caves, right?
Right?
Yes.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Let's talk about Brian Higgins for a second.
Yeah.
You know that name?
I do, sir.
You personally
Higgins.
interviewed Mr. Higgins, correct?
Sergeant Mechanic and I did, yes.
You keep adding other people into the interviews. I'm asking what you did, not what you and somebody else did. Did you
Yeah.
personally interview Brian Higgins?
Objection.
Got
I'll
some,
allow it.
got
Yes,
some
I did.
Higgins quotes up there for y'all.
He's a fellow law enforcement officer, and you knew that, right?
Yes.
He was a colleague of yours, correct?
He worked in a different agency, yes.
You waited until February 10th to conduct a pre-scheduled interview with Mr. Higgins, didn't you?
Yes.
And you interviewed him in the presence of his attorney, correct?
Correct.
He told you that he was engaged in a flirtatious relationship with Miss Reed.
He did.
As a matter of fact, he told you that he was engaged in a flirtatious relationship with Miss Reed over text messages, but on at least one occasion that resulted in a kiss, correct?
Yes.
And then he also told you that he had taken the liberty to extract certain conversations from his own cell phone, right?
Correct.
He
Oh,
brought you a
boy.
hard copy of those text messages, right?
He did.
And you knew that those text messages were messages that he curated to give to you, right?
Yes.
He's the one that made the determination of what was important, what was not important to give to you, his interviewer, right?
Objection.
Was that your understanding, Trooper?
It was my understanding was Mr. Higgins was being very forthcoming by providing those messages. It's not uncommon for witnesses to take screenshots or send us emails or send us text messages. So he just had a different means of producing text messages.
Well, you were actually asked that question in a different proceeding,
I don't know
with a
why.
different questioning.
No.
And you were asked whether or
I
not
don't know why he thinks that makes that better. Like now what you're saying is so like all of your investigations are bullshit is what I'm hearing basically. Like you never bother to do like an actual cell phone
your
extraction.
career as a law enforcement officer, has any person or witness
Not
ever
good.
brought a self-extraction of text messages
Yeah.
to an in-person interview?
Good
correct?
question. Good
Objection.
I'll
question.
allow it.
Yes.
Correct. Most
Your answer
Woo!
was,
civil.
That's
I'm
your
sorry.
answer was,
One.
Trooper Proctor, you had
Okay.
never experienced that in the history
Yeah.
of your career, correct?
Correct.
Right. Of course you
So you
have.
became aware pretty early on that Mr. Higgins
Well,
at least had a motive.
that's fun. He just impeached himself because he was just like, yeah, it's not uncommon for screenshots and blah, 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 blah. And then when asked directly, you've never seen that happen before. He's like, yeah, you're right.
To want to visit harm on John
Good job.
O'Keefe, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, absolutely not.
Well, you knew he had this flirtatious relationship with Karen Reed. Is that right?
Yes.
You became aware that he ignored, you saw the text messages. You became aware that Karen Reed actually ignored text messages from Mr. Higgins while at the Waterfall Bar and Grill with John O'Keefe, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Yes.
And you're aware that at 12:20 a.m., Brian Higgins sent a text message to John O'Keefe, coaxing him to 34 Fairview, correct?
Objection.
I'll see you at sidebar on this.
Bro. Y'all, we might be caught up to real time at this point with the sidebar, depending on how long it is. Yep, pretty much.
Thank you.
There we
You
go.
were aware
It's there.
that
Wow.
at
that's
2:20
crazy.
a.m., Brian Higgins sent a text message to John O'Keefe, prompting him to go to 34 Fairview, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that one. Go ahead.
I don't recall that text.
Do you recall a text from Brian Higgins to John O'Keefe after they left Waterfall? Where are you at?
I don't recall that one either.
You also recognized that Brian Higgins certainly had the means to commit the crime, correct?
No, I don't.
He's a big guy. Certainly had the physical ability to get into a physical altercation with John O'Keefe, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
He's
Just
an
because he's a big guy doesn't mean doesn't have the means or the motive to hurt Mr. O'Keefe.
I wouldn't ask
They
you
were
about
friends.
Oh my
that. I'm asking about
God.
motive. I'm asking about
He's
means.
gonna look really
Could he do
dumb.
it? Could he throw a punch? Knock a guy
Wow.
down, knock a guy out.
I can't speak to his fighting ability, sir.
Well, you've met him, right?
That one interview, yes.
Yeah, he's huge. Do you agree?
Objection.
Sustained.
He's a big dude, right?
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Bigger than me, right?
Yeah.
Bigger than you.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
a big dude. He's a big fucking dude.
You knew that he was former military
I did, yes.
and is a trained ATF agent, federal agent, right?
Yes.
And you were in possession of video surveillance from the Waterfall Bar and Grill, correct?
Yes.
And literally in the minutes before John O'Keefe's death, you saw video surveillance of Brian
Oh,
Higgins
don't-
and Brian Albert
No,
taking fighting
oh,
stances
no,
to one
no.
another, correct?
I interpreted that as
Oh dear. Okay, hold on. We have a request from vendor here. Where's Nightbot? Are you? Oh, there he is. Okay, I was like, Nightbot, are you having a nap? Hold on. We have a thing. We have a thing. Where is it? Here it is.
There's no evidence of anything in this case.
So I have to say, I'm a bit disappointed that Jackson's going down this road again. Now I wonder, maybe you know, and I know I'm not alone. Everybody else has said the same thing. Like, come on, there's nothing to that with them wrestling in the bar and showing off and peacocking. Now I wonder, maybe we will all be wrong. Maybe he will prove us all wrong, and there was actually something to this that we don't know about, because we don't have we only have limited footage, right, of that. Like, we don't have the whole night. Like, they have way more from C.F. McCarthy's. Who knows why? But if there's not something we don't know, it's a bit disappointing that he's going down this road again with this, right? Because they were just being like, they were just bromancing each other, you know, like 22 seconds and all that.
Closing around.
I didn't ask you how you interpreted Trooper Proctor. I asked you if you saw it.
Objection.
Because this felt like reaching before,
Did you see it or not?
and they don't
I
need
did.
it. They don't need this.
And what you saw was these guys taking fighting stances, correct?
Objection.
Is that what you saw?
Playful fighting stances.
Oh. That's
But you waited until February 10th
wonder.
to interview him, correct?
Yes.
And you decided not to image his phone. Is that right?
That's a really good point. I forgot about Chloe. I'm glad you didn't. We just haven't heard anything about Chloe in such a long time, and it keeps CB. That's interesting though, because it would answer the question of how Chloe ties in with all the rest of this, right? Versus just like attacking randomly. That's a good point.
All right?
Correct.
You didn't ask for consent to search his phone or to take his phone, correct?
No.
You didn't seek a search warrant to get his phone. Is that right?
No, sir.
Did you know that on January 29th at 2:22 a.m., there was a call between him and Brian Albert that morning?
Was not aware of that.
Are you jealous?
Might have been
of your
important to
lover?
investigation, don't you think?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Depends what I don't know what the call was
I'm
about.
sorry, finish that.
I don't know what the call was about. I don't know if they actually connected and communicated what the length of the call was. So
Right. And you never asked, did you?
I was unaware that call took place.
And you were unaware that that call took place because you didn't get his phone, Trooper Proctor, right?
Typically, we don't get witnesses' phones, sir.
You were unaware of that call at that time because you didn't seek his phone, correct?
Objection.
Mhm.
Correct.
The medical examiner notified you on April 28th, 2022, that the manner of death, in her words, could not be determined.
Oh boy.
Is that right?
Yes.
She would not rule, at least in terms of the manner of death, would not rule this a homicide. Is that right?
Accurate.
That's correct.
And you agree that that's obviously a pretty significant finding.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Her finding doesn't alter how we conduct our investigation, whether if it's undetermined or ruled a homicide. We're still going to continue to investigate one way, regardless of her determination.
You obviously were not pleased with that determination. You were not pleased with that determination, right?
It didn't matter one way or the other because, like I said, we continue on with the investigation.
On April 28th, that same day, you received a text message from Trooper DeChico, correct?
Yes.
You turn to tab 11, please.
What's the ID number?
This is 2618. I'm sorry, tab 11
Triple
is
F.
GGG, triple G is in golf. May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Do you have that in front of you, Trooper Proctor?
I do, sir.
You turn to page 2618. Do you see a text message received from Trooper DeChico with a photograph of the autopsy report?
Oh boy.
Yes.
And that autopsy report indicates undetermined. Is that right?
For manner, yes.
In response, you wrote a text message to DeChico, correct?
I did.
What was your response?
Of course, it's undetermined.
Oh boy.
And then what else did you write?
She was a whack job.
Of course, it's undetermined. She was a whack job, right?
You know what's interesting? Did the part where it says of course it's undetermined, did that come out on direct? Because I don't remember that part. I remember the part about the whack job and the other part, but I don't remember that. I wonder if that was left out. That would be so insane.
Those are your two responses, right?
Yes.
You were talking about
Right.
Dr. Squirty-Bello, the female medical examiner who came to the determination.
So I was right
this
that
was
it's a woman.
undetermined in terms of the manner of death.
I was right that it's a woman.
I'm not sure who I'm referencing as far as she was a whack job, but the of course it's undetermined is a sarcastic response from me.
Interesting. So the medical examiner is Dr. Squirty-Bello or whatever. I remember that name from reading the Commonwealth's motion from last Thursday. And if memory serves, she was listed in conjunction with the other defense experts. And I'm wondering if that means the defense is going to call her. And that would explain a lot. But also, I had made a squirrely crystal ball prediction the other day that this was going to be a woman, the medical examiner, because of the way that the derogatory language being used and trying to influence their decision and all that. Also, shout out to Dr. Squirty-Bello for not changing her manner of death despite their efforts. But apparently she is a woman, and that is also, now we know who that is, because I recognize that name. So we'll have to go back and take a look at that motion again and see what specifically what it says.
Have a moment, Your Honor.
Now that we know. Oh, well, we don't have far to go.
The reason you referred to Dr. Squirty-Bello as a whack job is because
Yeah.
the cut and dry case that you had hoped for
And I was right about that
wasn't
too.
really going your way.
Right. So he right. I also saw that yesterday because not yesterday, Monday. He said that the whack job was Karen Reed, and I was like, no, he's referring to the medical examiner. That was part of the whole thing. When I was like, that's
Objection.
Sustain.
When you referred to she's a whack job, were you referring to Dr. Squirty-Bello?
Here
I
it
don't
is.
recall.
Yeah. Yesterday or Monday.
Were you displeased
Get him.
with the undetermined finding instead of
Get him.
homicide finding because that was an obstacle in your investigation?
Objection.
The answer
You can break that down.
Were you displeased about the undetermined finding?
No.
Would you have rather had a
Lies.
determined finding that it was a homicide?
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter to my office. It would still
Right.
investigate the same exact way if it's ruled determined, undetermined, or homicide.
Well, then why would you say, of course it's undetermined? She was a whack job, sarcastically.
It's a sarcastic remark I made to Trooper DeChico.
Right, which sort of suggests displeasure rather than the reverse, correct?
Objection.
You'd agree that it's
Oh, wow.
extremely unusual for the manner of death to be undetermined in a homicide investigation you've worked on, correct?
Objection.
Sustain.
How many murder cases in the history of your career have you worked on in which the medical examiner made the determination that the manner of death could not be determined?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
I wouldn't feel comfortable putting a number on it. It's not a lot. I couldn't ballpark it for you, but I know it's not a lot.
Well, Trooper Proctor, you were asked this exact question in February of 2024 at another proceeding.
Mhm.
And you indicated that you had never seen it in your entire career, correct?
Oh boy.
I'm trying to run it.
Oh
Well,
God.
You were asked the question, so
What?
first, what do you mean by, of course it's undetermined?
Oh wow.
Your answer was, I said it at the time. It was kind of like, not like figuratively, of course.
No.
It's, and of course,
Yeah.
like I had never really seen that before in a
Oh, wow.
homicide. In court,
Oh wow.
correct?
Yes.
Your statement in February of 2024 under oath was you'd literally never seen that in any homicide you've ever worked, right?
Yes.
After she reached that conclusion, you discussed this with one of your colleagues
Wow.
about how you tried to put pressure on her to change her or alter her opinion. correct?
Aha.
Objection.
No.
I'll allow it.
Make him talk.
Is that what you did?
Pressure?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Let's turn to tab 12.
Turn to tab 12, motherfucker.
What's this for identification?
Wow.
This one, I'm just checking.
Influence
This
to
is
me, there's so much egregious stuff that he did, but in terms of things that actually directly impact the investigation in a really big way, as y'all heard me react onto this on Monday when it came out on direct, to me the worst thing of all is this whole thing with trying to influence the medical examiner. That's where it's just, again, that shows this is way bigger than just a few cops, and it's more systemic, and that also involves or implicates the DA's office as well. It's a big deal, man. And it's a good thing she didn't waiver,
Your Honor, for this one, may I publish?
right? Probably all three.
So I've got them mismarked. What's the bottom? What's the base
Sure,
stamp
it's
number?
2632.
Wow. I'm just going to rotate between his different things he has.
Why don't you come to sidebar for a
I'm
minute,
sorry,
please?
the face page is 2628. Maybe that helps.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Within that packet, we'll get.
He's like, I don't want to go to another
Okay.
sidebar.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. To begin with, Trooper Proctor, do you recognize the face page of that series of text messages in tab 12?
Yes,
Is that the text messages between you and Trooper DeChico, one of your colleagues?
it is. Yes.
Turn to page 2632, if you wouldn't mind. Tell me when you're ready.
Go ahead, sir.
Trooper DeChico texted you, rookie move, not going into a meeting with
Right.
the ME and getting that
Here
homicide.
we go,
charge,
guys.
Correct?
Oh my
Yes.
God, we get to see it. Let me pull this down. Holy shit. You guys, y'all,
How did you interpret that?
We're getting
Rookie
to see-
move, not getting that homicide determination.
You know, when Trooper DeChico, it's him busting my chops and joking with me.
Because you see
Yeah.
it as your job, you and Trooper DeChico,
what an idiot.
to go in and get the homicide determination. That's your job, right?
Not at all, sir.
You're not looking so much for her opinion as looking to give her your opinion, right?
Oh my God.
Absolutely not.
You responded, Yuri and I, who's Yuri?
Sergeant Mechanic.
Yuri and I had 2 conference calls with her, sent her numerous photos, etc.
Wow.
We laid out the entire case for her. That was your response, correct?
Yes.
You were explaining how much effort you went to try to get her
Yeah.
to change her opinion to homicide, right?
Objection.
No, not at all.
DeChico then
It's
responds,
just like
not
there's
good
no
enough.
way, there's no
Should've had me and
universe
Jeff
that
do
that's
it,
plausible.
right?
Like the saying.
Yes, that was his response.
Busting your chops that you didn't meet the standard of
I
getting her
know.
to change her mind to make it a homicide, right? That's what he was busting your chops about.
We would never try to change the mind of a medical examiner. The doctor who conducts the autopsy often has questions. They want to know the facts, kind of what had transpired leading up to a victim's death. It happens not only in homicides, but the unattended deaths we also attend to, suicide and overdose. So it's common to have these conversations with doctors.
Right. But
No,
in
no,
response to
no, sorry. No,
getting the
not the way.
information that she made the determination
Oh my
and held
God.
on to it, that this was undetermined, your answer was, of course it's undetermined. She was just a whack job, right?
With sarcasm.
Fucker.
Ultimately, did the doctor change her opinion?
No.
Good for
But the
her.
determination of the
Good
medical
for you, Dr.
examiner,
Sportybella.
that didn't matter to you, right? Because you had already decided you were going to charge Miss Reed with murder anyway.
Objection.
Oh, yes. Well done. Holy shit.
Yeah, the determination did not matter as we continued on with the investigation.
This is the thing I've been waiting to hear is how the fuck do you charge someone with homicide when the manner of death is not homicide? This is the moment I've been waiting for this entire trial. Oh my God.
Notwithstanding the medical findings in the case, correct? That it was not determined to be a homicide. right?
Yes.
Considering the manner, but
And that's because even though in the words of the prior group chat that this whole thing stinks, you were going to make it cut and dry by putting it on the girl,
Using
putting
his own
serious
words
charges on the girl,
against him.
notwithstanding what the medical examiner said, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were actually asked this question, whether or not it would have an impact on your decision, notwithstanding what the medical examiner's decision was, correct? Your decision to charge her. Is that right?
yes.
On February 1st, 2024, you were asked, so what you're telling this grand jury today, and you expect this grand jury to believe that you didn't care whether the medical examiner came back with a homicide determination? It doesn't matter to you? And your answer, quote, no, because either way,
Oh
Ms.
my
Reed
God.
was going to be charged.
Oh my God.
Correct.
Let's hear that again. Holy.
That's how you make a case cut and dry. Isn't
Oh my
it?
God.
You were actually
guys.
asked this question, whether or not it would have an
I
impact
wonder if he's going to wrap up with this. Oh my God.
on your decision, notwithstanding what the medical examiner's decision was, correct? Your decision to charge her. Is that right?
Yes.
On February 1st, 2024, you were asked, so what you're telling this grand jury today, and you expect this grand jury to believe
Oh my
that you
God.
didn't care whether the medical examiner came back with a homicide determination? It doesn't matter to you? And your answer, quote, no, because either way, Ms. Reed was going to be charged.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh my God.
Correct.
Wow.
That's how you make a case cut and dry, isn't it?
Fuck yeah.
Objection.
Sustained.
Is that it? No further questions?
In other words, Trooper Proctor, to hell with the medical evidence. Karen Reed was going to be charged because that's what you had decided to do, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
I want to change gears for a second
Oh, he's not done. He's not done.
and ask you about some electronic
Holy
data,
shit.
specifically as it pertains
my
to
God.
Jennifer McCabe. You're aware that Jennifer McCabe deleted texts and calls from her phone before she turned it over to you?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Are you aware of that?
I'm not
Oh,
aware of
Jen
that.
Are
McCabe,
you aware that
man.
there were texts and calls missing from her phone before having that phone turned over to you?
I'm not aware of that.
Did you look at the extraction report, the Celebrite extraction report from her phone?
I have, yes.
And you didn't see the columns marked deleted, 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 deleted?
Oh my God.
No, not that area. No,
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
not that area.
Not that area, meaning,
No,
what does that mean? I don't know what you mean by not
Yeah.
that area.
I went through the Celebrite report, but clearly I didn't review that tab.
You're joking
So,
me right now,
As you
though.
sit here, you're unaware
You're joking
of
me.
whether or not multiple texts and multiple phone
You
calls
just-
were deleted from her phone.
Oh
which
my
are in
God.
Your possession.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
He's saying he looked at the phone and didn't bother to look at the part where anything was missing.
Yeah, I'm not aware right now, sir.
Guys, what is happening? He's like, I didn't see that part. You're fucking kidding me.
As the case
What a
is-
great what a
case
great
officer,
detective you are.
Do you believe it might be important
Yeah,
to
right?
find out whether or not
Fucking
that phone
hell.
appeared to have been manipulated or altered in some way before it was turned over?
Not if
That
you
is
don't
something you
care.
normally do?
Not if you don't want the
That'd be
answer.
important.
But you didn't do it with Jim McCabe's phone.
Incredible.
I didn't personally handle that. No.
Hang him at dawn, I say.
Did you ever seize Nicole Albert's phone?
No.
Did you ever seize Brian Albert's
This
phone?
is just
No.
Colin Albert's?
No.
Chris Albert's?
No.
Julie Albert's?
Nope.
wow. Yeah. This
I'm
is
concerned that if you seized any or all of their phones,
Right.
especially Colin, Julie, and Chris,
wow.
that there might be some indicators that you knew them on those phones?
No, that thought never crossed my mind.
But the fact remains, you never sought to seize any of those, did you?
No, I don't.
Wow.
And you never asked, irrespective of what you saw in the Celebrite report, you never asked Jennifer McCabe whether or not that was a complete and accurate, I should
Of course
say.
not.
Let me ask it a different way. Did you ever ask Jennifer McCabe whether or not she ever altered anything on her phone before turning it in?
I did not. Again, I didn't handle Miss McCabe's phone. I do the cell phone extraction on it.
I want to ask you about another issue concerning a potential conflict of interest.
Another
You're well
one?
aware that Canton PD was supposed to be, we talked about this
All right.
at some length, conflicted off the case as of January 29th, 2022, right?
Correct.
And you can put it in that text message, not Cat, it's total opposite. They have to recuse
Right.
themselves, BPD. Same with Canton, right?
Yes.
Those are your words on January 29th, right?
Yes.
And you knew that one of the reasons for Canton PD to recuse itself is because of the relationship between the Alberts and one of the detectives on Canton PD, Kevin Albert, right?
Correct.
You knew that Kevin Albert was the primary source of the conflict, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that he, above everybody else, should be completely removed from any contact with the investigation or the investigators, right?
Correct.
Yet when you wanted to coordinate witnesses for interviews in this case, who'd you turn to?
I texted Kevin Albert to see if he could secure
Of course.
a conference room for us to conduct interviews at the station.
The same Kevin Albert to help coordinate these witness interviews, who's the brother of Brian Albert, right?
Yes.
If you could turn to tab 13, please.
Wow.
Your Honor, for the court's edification, it should be I,
All right, thank you.
then India.
Thank you.
Eyes in India. Interesting.
Do you have that in front of you, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, I do.
If you'll
Oh.
turn to page 2591. With the court's permission, I'd like to publish.
Okay, they're going to publish it.
Can you see that on January 30th, 2022, at about 11:55 a.m., Kevin Albert texts you on your personal cell phone, Paul G is reviewing the reports now. Steve Seraph is here if you need to interview him, and we can call Stephen Mullaney in as well, end quote. You see that?
Yes.
Who's Paul G?
Lieutenant Paul Gallagher.
So Kevin Albert, a Canton PD officer, and an Albert is texting you about Paul Gallagher, another Canton officer, about interviewing Steve Seraph another Canton officer, and Steve Mullaney, a second Canton officer, correct?
Correct.
What investigation was Kevin Albert referring to in the text?
The death of John O'Keefe.
This investigation. Right?
Correct.
Oh boy.
Did you tell Kevin Albert it's completely inappropriate for him to be involved in this case at all?
I did not.
Did you tell him he shouldn't be having any
Oh
contact
my
with any of the
God.
witnesses, and he shouldn't even be having contact with you? Did you
Right.
tell him that?
I did not.
Oh
What
my
you did
God.
write back was, quote, okay, Yuri and I are coming in at 1 to interview a firefighter, Katie, correct?
That's right.
So not only did you tell him that you were engaged in the process of obtaining interviews, you told him the name of the interviewee, right?
Yes.
And you were going to do it at Canton PD, correct?
Correct.
So you're sharing information about the identity of witnesses that you intend to interview with Brian Albert's brother, right?
Yes.
Then you asked Kevin Albert to actually contact the witnesses in order to schedule their interviews, didn't you?
Yeah, I believe it was Officer Mullaney and Seraph.
Turn to page 2592. I'm sorry, Kevin Albert texts, okay, so I'll get Mullaney in as well. You interviewing her here? And you respond, yeah, if we can line them up for 1:30 and 2, that would be great, correct?
Yes.
So you were leaving it up to Kevin Albert to contact and coordinate with the witnesses that you intended to interview at Canton PD, correct?
Oh my
Objection.
God.
I'll allow it.
Correct.
You then answered anytime in the ballpark. I'm sorry, yes, you answered anytime in the ballpark, then you went on and said from 1:30 on, correct?
Yes.
Kevin Albert then says, okay, sounds good. And then he responds, if you want to interview witnesses in the recorded room here, you're more than welcome.
Oh my
You see
God.
that?
I do.
Oh my
He's
God.
referring to an interview room or
Just
an
make it
interrogation
even
room
worse.
where there's surreptitious recording devices, correct?
Yes.
That's to help facilitate memorializing interviews that police officers want to take with any witness in a crime, right?
Correct.
That would mean that if you used a recorded room, those recordings would be in the hands of which agency?
That's why we did not use that recorded room.
But he offered, didn't he?
He offered. We did not use it.
Did you see that as a problem?
That he offered?
Yeah.
No, I don't, sir.
You see that as a problem because he might, I don't know, take some of those interviews and forward them to his brother?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Were you concerned that Kevin Albert was offering to utilize Canton's recording
Oh,
programs
fuck.
facility in order to get access to what the witnesses were saying
Oh my God. Oh my
to
God.
tell his brother?
Oh
No.
dear.
Never crossed your mind.
Never.
Wow. So
Well,
here's what I make of that, guys. Here's what I make of that. Fucking hell. That Kevin Albert, who we know is supposed to be some big head honcho up there in Boston PD, he offered to let them use these rooms where they could record what the witnesses are saying because he wanted to know what they're saying. This is what I'm getting out of the way this is being asked. Because he wanted, so then he could tell Brian Albert and what everybody's saying. But maybe little did he know, by he I mean Kevin, maybe he didn't even know, or maybe he did, whatever. But my guess is that Proctor here and his buddies know that what they've done is so fucked up that like they're not even willing to do that because, like, in other words, the disadvantages of recording that conversation in fear of what the witnesses might say about this investigation would overrule or outweigh any benefit for having the testimony. That's my guess, but we'll see what happens with it. Let me know what you guys
Go
think.
ahead and use the recording.
Typically don't record our interviews.
That's not what
Fucking hell.
You said the reason we didn't use the recording room is because of the obvious possibility that Kevin Albert and Canton PD could have access to the recordings.
Objection.
Sustained.
Didn't you say that's why we didn't use it?
No.
That was your answer, right?
I didn't even hear his answer.
What did you say?
That we didn't use it. You
When I said, if you made a recording, it would be in the hands of which agency? Obviously Canton PD. And your answer was, that's why we didn't use the recorded room, right?
No, I don't recall saying that's why we didn't use the room.
I just said it to Proctor. I mean, it's been 10 minutes. It's been 4 minutes.
No.
You don't remember that?
Not specifically stated like that.
All right, let me ask you a different way.
Get it from the
If
court
you weren't
reporter.
concerned that the interviews could be compromised by Canton PD and Kevin Albert, why didn't you just use the room? It was offered up.
again, typically we don't record
Oh, boy.
interviews.
Oh boy.
With a cooperating witness, we just sit down with them, take notes. If it's someone we deem necessary to actually have a recording of, then we'll pursue that option.
How do you hold on? How do you make that decision before you have any information for what their testimony is, though? I
After you
swear.
knew that Canton Police Department was conflicted off the case, you continue to have a very close relationship with yet another Albert, Kevin Albert, correct?
We worked on a cold case together.
So you did have a close personal and professional relationship with Kevin Albert, didn't you?
I'd say it was a professional relationship.
Only a professional relationship?
Him and I were members at a gym together, and we worked a cold case together for several months,
Drinking, socializing, maybe?
once in a while.
Right.
They all seem to drink quite a bit.
Yeah, acquaintances,
Drinking acquaintances, right?
on several occasions, yes.
Here's the question.
On several occasions.
The question is, do you guys become puddles together?
So when you
Cuddle puddles.
told the jury a few minutes ago that you were aware of and knew of, but didn't have relationships with 3 Alberts, Julie, Chris, and Colin. Not quite true, is it?
Objection.
Sustained.
There's a 4th Albert out there, isn't there?
Yay!
Right?
We have not heard enough about him. That's for fucking sure.
But you didn't tell us about that one,
Objection.
I'll allow it.
correct?
I don't consider that a relationship. It's
Oh my
Let's
god.
look at that.
You know who he reminds me of?
5 months into this investigation, and
He reminds me of Higgins with this. You know, saying like, I don't have relationships with anybody, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, right. Well, you're like, what the
July
fuck?
of 2022, you were actually continuing to socialize with Kevin Albert, weren't you?
Oh boy.
yes.
On July 19th,
Get him.
2022, you and Kevin Albert went out drinking together, didn't you?
What is he fucking dude?
Trooper Proctor, I'm not asking you to look for anything in the binder at this point. I'm
Yeah.
asking for your memory.
I don't recall that.
You don't recall the date, or you don't recall
July 19th, 2022.
you don't recall the drinking.
The date itself, sir.
Why don't we turn to tab 13?
Tab 13
Yes, sir.
again.
Do I have a number or a letter?
We're still in tab 13. Are we still in tab 13?
Yeah, I was just
All right,
that's
so
what
what
I was
page,
saying.
Mr. Jackson?
Page 2602.
She's being way more patient than usual, Judge Bev.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Trooper Proctor, are you on
All right,
2602?
well.
I am.
The fact of does that refresh your recollection that on July 19th, 2022, you and Kevin Albert have been out drinking together?
It does.
In fact, the two of you got so drunk that Kevin Albert
Oh boy.
left his badge in your cruiser
Oh
and
boy.
couldn't find his gun the next morning.
Oh no. No. What the fuck?
I can't speak to any level of
Oh my god.
intoxication, but
Oh my
I don't
God.
recall either of us being intoxicated.
You weren't puddles?
So
Wow.
is it true that at
Oh my
7,
God.
on 7/20,
Oh my
July
God.
20th, 2022, the day after, at 8:39 in the morning,
Ugh.
you texted Kevin Albert, quote, found your badge in my cruiser this morning,
Fucking hell.
end quote, correct?
Yes.
Then you texted him, I can leave it in my locker at the gym, drop it off at your station, or leave it in my mailbox, correct?
Correct.
Kevin
Oh
Albert
my god. You
responds-
remember, you guys, early on in the trial, there was talk about going by somebody's mailbox to pick something up. That was Higgins, though, wasn't it? And I commented on that. It's in one of the videos. I commented on that, and I was like, that's weird. And then I gave that whole story about the mailboxes. If you guys might remember it, because I talked about shopping at Lowe's as a kid, and I made all those signs for the mailbox. That's because we were talking about mailboxes, because there was talk of dropping things off in a mailbox. And I was like, you can't just put anything in a mailbox. It's illegal. Yes, I'll rewind it.
badge in your cruiser and couldn't find his gun the next morning, right?
Objection.
Let me back up a little bit more so you can have the context. So
Trooper Proctor, are you on 2602?
I am.
remember, Kevin Albert, okay, we've not heard very much about Kevin Albert. In fact, even when you look at like the court TV has like the family trees and shit, his face is left out of it. I don't know how they've managed that, but he's apparently really high up at Boston PD. And remember, that's where John O'Keefe worked. He was not Canton, he was Boston. But we've not heard very much all about Kevin Albert, which I always thought was weird. So they're talking about apparently and Proctor are close and they're like drinking buddies or whatever. So they're about to talk about one time when Kevin Albert got so super drunk and what happened with that.
The fact of the matter, does that refresh your recollection that on July 19th, 2022, you and Kevin Albert have been out drinking together?
It does.
In fact, the two of you got so drunk that Kevin Albert left his badge in your cruiser and couldn't find his gun the next morning, right?
Objection.
Overruled.
Wow.
I can't speak to any level of intoxication, but I don't recall either of us being intoxicated.
What about the gun and the badge,
So-
you dipshit?
Isn't it true that at 7/20, July 20th, 2022, the day after at 8:39 in the morning, you texted Kevin Albert, quote, "Found your badge in my cruiser this morning," end quote, correct?
Yes.
Then you texted him, "I can leave it in my locker at the gym, drop it off at your station, or leave it in my mailbox."
Here, the mailbox.
Kevin Albert responds,
There.
"My mailbox. Did I take my gun?" And then included a wince face emoji.
Oh, for
Correct?
fuck's sake.
Correct.
Oh my God.
So the fact of the matter is,
He's going to leave it in the mailbox.
you two got so
No.
drunk,
No.
he couldn't find his badge and had to ask you the next morning
Oh,
where his gun was.
No.
Right?
Again, I can't speak to any level of intoxication. Whether he just forgot it, I don't know.
I'm not asking you about his BAC Trooper Proctor. I'm asking, have you seen drunk people before?
I did
Yes.
say
You've been
dipshit,
drunk before.
which I've
Yes, I have, sir.
We've all been drunk before, right?
Yes.
Was he
I don't think I've ever used the word dipshit before, but I think I'm just running out of words. And I literally have never even said that. I'll back up just a second. This is so crazy. Wow.
Again, I can't speak to any level of intoxication. Whether he just forgot it, I don't
I'm
know.
not asking you about his BAC Trooper Proctor. I'm asking, have you seen drunk people before?
Yes.
You've been drunk before.
Yes, I have, sir.
We've all been drunk before, right?
Yes.
Was he drunk? Were you drunk that night?
I don't recall. It was a long time ago.
You were
But he
so
left his
drunk.
badge in your cruiser after a night of drinking. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Which means you were drinking and driving in your cruiser.
Well, at this point, that's commonplace, right? That's not surprising at this point here.
Right?
Of
From
course,
what I
he-
remember, we were down the Cape working on the cold
You
case
were all
together
doing it.
and stopped for dinner,
oh my
had a few
God.
beers,
Don't even.
and then dropped him off.
Oh.
Next
Wow.
morning, Kevin Albert also texted you at page 2606.
There's more. They're gonna have to break for lunch soon, I think. He's still gonna be on stand. I thought Jackson was
Starting with
gonna
this
be
bag.
wrapping up because he
Something
was
you see
getting
that.
to that. He had that pinnacle,
Okay, say it.
but we're not.
Publish.
There's more pinnacles, guys. Multi-pinnacle
Yes.
situation going on here.
2606, please. Kevin Albert responded, "It's bad!" Exclamation point,
Oh,
exclamation
dear.
point. "I was hungover for sure today!" Exclamation point,
Oh.
exclamation point. "Couple tonight to make me feel good."
Whoa.
End quote. Correct?
Correct.
What is he referring to there?
Does
More
that refresh your
drinks
recollection
or
that you had
drugs?
Been out drinking the night before.
Oh boy.
He got so drunk that he couldn't find his
Sounds
badge,
just like fucking Higgins, doesn't it, man?
he couldn't even find his gun.
Fender makes a great point. In this town, I think driving sober is the thing you get pulled over for. Yup. Yeah.
Yes, it does refresh my memory.
And you're in your cruiser,
Ugh.
right?
Yes, sir.
And this is with Brian Albert's brother, Trooper Proctor.
Correct.
I'm going to change gears. Trooper Proctor, you personally collected John O'Keefe's clothes from the hospital.
Yeah.
at Good Sam. in
I
Buffalo,
think
did
there's
you
a
not?
concern about
I did.
alcoholism for a
Went
lot of
to-
these guys.
At the time you were at Good Sam, you actually had the opportunity, you had the occasion to see Mr. O'Keefe in the hospital, correct?
Yes.
You also had the occasion to see his clothing in the hospital, correct?
Yes.
That's the clothing that you ultimately gathered, is that right?
Correct.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
If you could take a look at that.
Mhm.
Tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
That photograph of you I'm sorry, it's not of you, but do you see your legs in that photograph?
Yes,
Okay, and you also see the legs of Mr. O'Keefe on the hospital gurney, correct?
I do.
And you see a pile of clothes there?
Correct.
Your Honor, if I could have this marked and omitted.
Objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Exhibit 568.
568? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
We ready? May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Request the court's permission to publish.
Okay.
Do you see this? Do you see the photograph in front of you? Is that the same photograph that's been published up on the television screen?
Yes, sir.
Directing your attention to the leftmost portion of the photograph, you see a clothes, first clothes on the ground.
I do. Yes.
Okay, that appears to be what? What items or articles of clothing do you see?
The T-shirt, possibly the jeans.
Gray shirt as well.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay, and those are your legs to the uppermost part of the screen, correct?
I believe.
In the blue pants.
Yes,
And do you see to the leftmost
Oh,
portion of the
wow.
screen chair?
I do.
See what's on that chair?
My binder.
That's your portfolio.
Hold on, let me
It is.
back that up again.
That's
Sorry,
something that
guys.
Investigations.
Yes,
You keep your notes and things.
jeans.
Gray shirt as well.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay, and those are your legs to the uppermost part of the screen, correct?
I
Wow.
believe.
In the blue pants.
Yes,
And do you see to the leftmost
Wow.
portion of the screen chair?
I do.
See what's on that chair?
My binder.
That's
Wow.
your portfolio.
It is.
That's something that you carry routinely as you're investigating during the course of your investigations.
Yes.
You keep your notes and things of that nature.
Yes.
Pens, paper.
Correct.
All right. Let me get that down.
Is there going to be a suggestion? Is there going to be a suggestion that there were? I don't want to. Should I don't know that I want to go here with this thought, but I'm just wondering. I mean, you can't help but like just seeing that picture and him with the binder there, and that John is still alive. Is there a concern perhaps that like, you know, they learned that there was a 10% chance of survival? Because he referenced that several times in direct, and it was interesting that he kept bringing that up. And are they is this going to get to the thing of like they were worried he wouldn't die and he would be able to tell them what happened? Because we've seen this in other cases where, I mean, tons of other cases, right? Like, what if they were concerned that he would wake up and then something happened? Or maybe they just went to go make sure he was really going to die. But the fact that he's there, like, look at this picture. I mean, I don't think it's that far-fetched at this juncture.
Binder.
That's your
That's
portfolio?
the shitty
It
thing.
is.
Okay. That's something that you carry routinely.
Go back a little bit more. Okay,
Gray shirt
let's
as well.
look. Let's look. Let's just look at this.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And those are your legs to the uppermost part of the screen, correct?
So there's John O'Keefe with his socks on. There's his clothes. And there he's got these things on his legs. And so he's still alive. And there's the binder. Oh, dear. Maybe, do you guys see anything troubling about it? Like, I don't know. It's just,
I believe.
In the blue pants.
Yes,
And do you see to the leftmost
let's see
portion
what
of the screen,
happens.
chair?
I do.
See what's on that chair?
My binder.
That's
You know,
your
what
portfolio.
if they had more than one prerogative to try to influence that medical examiner, right? What if they had three prerogatives? This is really speculation, but at this point, I just feel like nothing will surprise me with this case. What if they had three prerogatives to make sure that the truth about whoever really was responsible for his death didn't come out? Like in terms of if it was the Alberts or whatever, to make sure that, well, wait, hold on. What was the third thing? Hold on. My brain was just going really fast. To eliminate the potentiality, I guess, of like their own involvement. and then to pin it on somebody else. And right, I know what I was thinking, because of the cause and manner of death, right? Like, what if the reason that they were also trying to, right, okay, what if the reason they were trying to influence that medical exam, that's where I was going with it, to influence the medical examiner wasn't just because they wanted to frame Kieran, but also to make sure that there wouldn't be any question as to what really happened to him. Like, what if he was going to make it? I don't know. No, I don't want to know, because I'd rather come up with it on my own based on what we see in trial. So, you know, if I don't read anything about this case. So if I come up with something that you guys have seen, then clearly there's something there to it in terms of I'm going only off of the evidence in the trial and just I'm intuiting based on the questions. And so far, my squirrely crystal ball has been really on point. And the other thing I will just say is you have to keep in mind too, that just because the defense so far has backed up all of their claims, right? It would still not be out of the realm of possibility for them to just suggest something the way that we usually see in trials from defense attorneys, to just suggest something that maybe isn't actually true, but just to suggest the possibility. Maybe in a question that gets objected to and gets, you know, stricken from the record, but the jury hears it. So maybe that's going to be something like that. So in other words, I'm not saying that for sure that it's like, oh, that definitely happened. What I'm saying is I'm intuiting in a way that that's kind of where they're headed with it from the questioning. So you can kind of take that for what you, oh, interesting. Wow. Okay. That, I think at this point, Fender, I think it's just, they're all in too deep. They all lied to cover up for somebody else. And then they're all in fucking involved. And I think that the text messages say it all when right off the bat, they're like, Boston PD's not going to like this. They got to protect their image. They got to save face, all that. And when you missed the recap last night, because if you saw their salaries, you might understand it better. But DSN brought up their salaries and like put that in the chat, and I pulled it up on the screen, and their salaries are ridiculous. It's like crazy. And that could also mean why they wouldn't want to lose their jobs. There's actually, I didn't expect the money to be potentially a factor, because usually cops don't make any money, but they make a lot of money. So, I mean, unless there's some first reason that they all had some issue with John O'Keefe that we've not heard anything about. So I'm not going to, I mean, I don't think there's anything to support that, but maybe we just don't know yet. But like, from what we can tell, it just seems like they all were covering for each other. And maybe, you know, like my initial thought, like I've said from the get-go, like, it's like that, you know, that fancy dinner party, clue dinner game, dinner party situation, where they're all just really shit-faced. Nobody knows what happened, and they don't know if they did it or then a person next to them did it. So they all just cover for each other and they all lie. Like that, but then you involve all these other agencies that are covering for each other because they're all related. And no, they do. So that was my reaction, and I don't think they do, but these guys, these state troopers do. I think I timestamped it. So when we go on a break, you can look for that in the recap from last night, because I think there's a timestamp for it.
Polio?
It is.
Okay. That's something that you carry routinely as you're investigating during the course of your investigations?
Yes.
You keep your notes and things of that nature?
Yes.
Pens, paper?
Correct.
All right. Let me take that down. You indicated that you took possession of those clothing items from Good Samaritan Hospital, correct? Correct. You bagged them? Bagged, B-A-G-G-E-D, bagged them? Correct?
Yes.
And then what did you do with them after that?
We secured them in Sergeant Buchanan's pickup truck.
And
Right.
then what happened to them after they were secured in this pickup truck?
And I pointed this out. I think I pointed this out on the recap last night. I had not caught, even though I'm sure it's come up in testimony, I did not catch this detail until the recap last night, and I probably timestamped it. But there's a detail that the bag with like the pieces of Taillight and the bag with John O'Keefe's clothes didn't get turned in to the crime lab until March 16th. And I bet, Squirrel Age crystal ball time again, I bet that's what he's going to be asking him, because that just flew under the radar. I didn't ever hear that, but I was paying attention last night to some of the questions that were being asked of Mix Thalier. That's how you say it, hopefully. But and that's when I caught it, and I was like, holy shit, like And I probably around it, but I did timestamp it. So,
Traveled to Dayton
Yeah,
to
they
Mr.
were-
Reed's house.
and remember, they were initially taken away in Buchanan's personal pickup truck from the house. And then he says that after that, at some point, they went to the DA's office, but then everybody could have access to them. But they were not. The biggest thing to me is like the crime lab didn't get them until March 16th. Like what?
I don't want to have to take you through the entire.
So let's
we're gonna know
see.
where you went.
Okay.
Sergeant Buchanan, sorry, that's fine. You get back to.
There it is.
Correct?
Sergeant,
Yes.
thanks. Sorry,
Ultimately,
testimony.
Were the clothes transported into the your facility
Yes,
at the DA's office?
correct.
Okay. What
Yeah.
did you do with them after that?
Like I just.
We brought them to the evidence
I'm
processing.
going to ask you what you did, not what we did. What
Sergeant Buchanan and I brought them to the evidence processing area, laid out butcher
Oh,
paper
boy.
so the clothes could dry, put them on there in that area.
That's not what he's
And
asking.
then I brought 2 cell phones to Trooper Garino so he could try to attempt
He's
it.
here's my 2 cents. I think he's asking, what about the missing weeks in between?
Extract the phones.
What did you do with the clothing after it was dried out?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the next day, Trooper
boy.
DeChico arrived and
Oh,
brought them
boy.
into the permanent evidence area where only him and another trooper
Oh,
in my
my
office
God.
have access to.
Struggling even
So
more
they were
than
secure
usual.
from that at that point.
Yes.
So you didn't
Oh,
book them into
boy.
evidence?
I did not know.
Nope.
When they're booked into evidence, there's supposed to be a log of that, correct?
I'm sorry?
There's supposed to be a log of that when they're booked into evidence, correct?
Yes.
You're the case officer on the case. One of your responsibilities is to make sure that chain of custody is maintained throughout the entirety of the investigation, all the way up to a courtroom, correct?
Yes.
Where's the log of those items being booked into evidence?
Wow. This
There was
is
a chain of custody from when they entered the
Don't-
DA's
don't-
office,
don't
and then
do it.
when Trooper DeChico created a label for him, but also put him in a secure facility.
Can you show me where that is?
that's not.
I'm not the evidence office. I don't have that.
I see. So you didn't bring a log with you of any sort concerning the chain of custody of these items, correct?
No.
As a matter of fact, the reason you didn't bring that chain of custody log is because none exists.
Doesn't exist.
Right?
I knew it.
Objection.
Sustained, ask it differently.
Does a physical log exist starting from
Depressed.
January 29th, 2022 to today?
Yes.
Where's that physical log, sir?
I'm not an evidence officer, so I don't know how that.
Oh
yeah.
my
So I don't know how that's
God.
generated.
That
So as a
was
case officer, you have no
priceless.
idea where an evidence log
Hold on,
is
I want to hear that.
has something as
Y'all, I want to put this on normal speed and hear how long that pause is in real life. That was beautiful.
Can you show me where that is?
I'm not the evidence officer. I don't have that.
I see. So you didn't bring a log with you of any sort concerning the chain of custody of these items, correct?
No.
As a matter of fact, the reason you didn't bring that chain of custody log is because none exists. Isn't that right?
Objection.
Sustained, ask it differently.
Does a physical log exist starting from January 29th, 2022 to today?
Yes.
Where's that physical log, sir?
I'm not an evidence officer, so I
boy.
don't know how
Oh,
that.
boy.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's generated.
Bravo. Hold on.
So as a case officer, you have no idea where an evidence log is that has something as insignificant as, I don't know, the victim's clothing.
Objection.
No.
Sustained.
Fucking stop.
The
Y'all,
fact of
come
the
on.
matter is,
At this point, Lally should be rooting for Jackson. Come on.
attendant to this case regarding those clothing items
This is so messed
starts
up.
on March 14th. When they were
Okay,
taken
there
to
it is.
the crime lab.
March 14th. I had,
That's when the clothing was transported to the lab.
so y'all, I thought it was the 16th. It was the 14th. It's not really any better anyway, but yeah, 14th. So there you go.
And that's the only log we have of what happened to those clothes
Yeah.
between January 29th and today.
Objection.
Overruled. Do you know that?
I don't. I'm not off the top of my head, ma'am.
I want to talk for a second about the searches in Brian Albert's front lawn that took place on and after January 29th, 2022. As the case officer, Trooper Proctor, you also took control of the taillight pieces that were ultimately claimed to have been found at that location, correct?
Not in all searches.
Which of the pieces that were found were you responsible for taking control of?
8th, 11th, and 18th.
So who had control over
You're
the
right. It
items
was
that were
Pi
found
Day. Good point.
before the 8th? You said the 8th, 11th, and 18th, right?
Those are items that I had found on those days and that I had processed and essentially bagged and tagged them and handed them over to our evidence officer. There was multiple days that troopers were out there looking for more evidence.
Who's the
So
evidence officer? I
there would be
feel
a log
like
of
you never
that too.
hear that.
Right.
Again, how the system works as far as the evidence comes in, I can't speak to that.
It's like no one's actually
So you
responsible
have no
for it.
idea
That's the
what the chain of
problem.
custody of any of these items are, the clothing or the taillight material, from January 29th until March 14th, when the evidence log starts. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know why he thinks this is an answer for him because it's his job to be in charge of it. Like,
There is a log. I mean, it's in
I mean, I guess in a way,
our system where labels are
so stupid. I guess in a way, this no matter what he says, the answer is going to be good for the defense because either he's going to be like, yeah, I was in charge of it, like I fucked it up. Yep, that's bad for him, good for the defense. Or it's like I wasn't in charge, blah blah, like or like I don't know what happened to it or whatever, but it's like it was his job. It's like no matter what, he loses, and it's good for the defense.
created, and it generates the time and date that a label's created, and then it shows that it's at our office in a secure facility, and then it was brought to the lab on the 14th.
What happens if the label is created and says something like, I don't know, February 4th? What happens to the items before February 4th?
They were stored in a secured facility, or a secured room.
Says who? Where's the log?
Oh my god.
Objection.
Sustain.
Is there a log of that?
Oh,
Not to my knowledge.
there you go. Was that so hard? Come on. You fought and fought and fought. Wow. Fucking hell. After all that.
You were responsible for seizing Miss Reed's car, correct?
Yes.
Oh God.
And you originally claimed that that seizure took place at 5:30 p.m. Is that right?
Oh,
Correct.
boy. Is that not
You
right?
signed
either?
numerous affidavits under oath, claiming that you did not seize Miss Reed's vehicle until 5:30 p.m. on January 29,
Oh God.
right?
Correct.
At the time that
Oh,
you
boy.
seized Miss Reed's vehicle, you were unaware that there was alarm.com surveillance footage.
Oh my
of
God.
your
Oh no,
public
that's not.
posts.
Well, I guess we
Correct.
saw it coming.
The fact of the matter is, that was false. The car was not seized at 5:30, was it?
4:16 p.m.
Right. An hour and change, an hour and 18 minutes, hour and 20 minutes earlier. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you ever seek to change or amend the error, the false statement about the time
So
or received and seized in any of those documents that you filed under oath?
when I incorrectly transcribed the times, it was on the first affidavit I had written. And then as I continued to write other search warrants, I used that as a template. So I never caught it on the first one. And that's the reason those times are off on the other affidavit I wrote.
So the first one was false, and then every single one after that was false too.
There was just an incorrect transcription of time.
An incorrect transcription of the time. Would
Yes.
You call that, I don't know, a Scrivener's error?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
Sure. Was it a typo?
Yes.
It was a typo. So you got the 4 wrong, you got the 1 wrong, and you got the 6 wrong. And those turned into 5 and 3 and 0, right?
They were typos, sir.
Okay. Fact of the matter is, you delivered that car to Canton PD, to the Sallyport garage, before a single piece of taillight material was ever found in this case. Trooper Proctor, is that correct?
Correct. It arrives at 5:31.
And you also towed it to the Canton Police Department because that was conveniently close to the location at 34 Fair, to the crime scene, right?
That was not my decision.
Whose decision was it?
I don't recall. I know that
Oh, you're the case officer.
I wouldn't.
Who decides?
It wasn't my decision. I did not make that call, sir.
So who are we pointing the finger at? Was it Sergeant Buchanan?
Objection.
Ask it differently, Mr.
Sure.
Jackson.
Was it Sergeant Buchanan who made that decision to transport it to Canton?
It's a supervisor's decision. I don't know who it came from.
Was it Lieutenant Tully?
Again, I don't know who it came from.
So you were just following orders.
Yes.
See what? That's another guy. We still have
You're
not
aware
heard from
that
Tully.
Massachusetts
We still have
State
not
Police,
heard from
your
Tully.
agency actually has not one, but 2 barracks, one in Middleborough, one in Foxborough, that are both closer as crow flies than the Canton PD Sallyport, from where the car was towed, correct?
Yes.
Both of those facilities were passed by, and the car was ultimately placed at Canton PD Sallyport at 5:31 or so, right?
Yes.
And you're aware that that Sallyport is about 3 minutes from 34 Fairview?
Yes.
Yeah, just moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, you were the lead case officer on this case. That means that you were required to collect and maintain all the videos that were pulled in connection with this investigation, correct?
Correct.
And you obviously are aware of your legal obligation to turn over
Okay.
any and all exculpatory information that you might come in possession of, correct?
Objection.
That's sustained.
So now
You
we're
did pull a lot of video in connection with this case,
Wow.
did you not?
Okay. So now
Yes.
we're getting to the Lolliport video. I wonder, was he the one that fucked with it? Like, let's find out. Holy shit.
About 290 videos from the Ring camera located in the driveway at One Meadows. Does that sound about right? I don't expect you to have counted every single one, but it's under 300.
You know what?
A ton of them, right?
Yes.
Another 140.
These are Brady violations, which I saw this coming. In fact, I talked about this, I think, God, weeks ago at this point. I kept saying, like, there's got to be exculpatory evidence, and that's what's missing. These are all Brady violations. How is this happening?
The videos or so
I don't
from the
understand.
front door Ring camera of that same location, One Meadows, right?
Yes.
9 videos from the Waterfall Bar and Grill.
Yes.
8 videos from the Temple Beth
Yes.
facility. 5 videos from CF McCarthy's.
Yes.
4 dash cam videos.
Correct.
2 videos from Kenton Town Library.
Correct.
2 videos from Cassie's Corner Store, right?
Yes.
2 videos from the cars test on Miss Reed's vehicle. Is that right?
Yes.
And 2 videos from the location at 34 Fairview where individuals were using leaf blowers.
Correct.
Yes.
All of those, I did some rough math, 360 odd videos were handed over to the defense in or about June of 2022. Is that your understanding?
Objection.
That's sustained.
They were provided in discovery to the defense ultimately, right?
Okay. Yes.
Does it sound like, I don't expect you to have the date down pat, but spring of 2022, sound about right? Spring, early summer?
Yes.
All right. But there was additional video surveillance footage that you chose to hold back
Oh,
from that discovery, correct?
Oh.
Objection.
Did you hold back
How can
videos?
you object?
I did not, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
There's surveillance video
Just
from
lying
Police
about everything.
Department's Sallyport garage that wasn't turned over.
Exculpatory evidence. Yeah, okay, Brady. This is a huge thing for the U.S., right? So Brady is named after its case law. Brady was the defendant. I don't remember what year it's from, but a Brady violation. So they are, okay, in every state in the land and for the federal government, when the prosecution or the state or the country, whoever is charging somebody criminally, when they are in the process of discovery and they are going through this discovery and they find something that is exculpatory. Exculpatory means it would rule out the suspect. Inculpatory means it would include them. So in like inculpatory, like include, exculpatory, like escape. I don't know. So exculpatory evidence would be, for example, if I'm going to make something up, but let's just say that they had a video and they had a video and they saw when she cracked the tail light and it had nothing like maybe let's say the video, okay, just take it for an example. We saw her bump into John O'Keefe's car. Let's say there was an additional camera angle or something of that where you could see it better and you could tell for sure that that's when it got cracked, just as an example. Or let's say there was somebody caught it on camera or had a recording of Colin and Brian beating up John or something like that, right? Where that's all that, like those are just examples. There's tons of stuff, right? That would be exculpatory evidence. Or let's say someone's just take a different case, right? Like any case, like someone's been charged with a murder, right? And then they find the murder weapon and somebody else's DNA on it, just as another example. So what happens is when that is discovered, that has to be turned over to the defense, or it's what's called a Brady violation. And that is a big deal. Brady violations are like, you don't really ever see them very often because it's like it's like the worst thing you can possibly have in a case. I mean, I feel like it's probably doesn't really happen ever since Brady. There's, it's like the repercussions of that. I honestly don't even know what they are. I just know that it's like bad, all bad. Like, I couldn't even say that there couldn't be criminal charges brought against someone who would do a Brady violation is so severe. And such a big deal. But I kept talking about it with this case early on. Like I kept saying, this looks like this is Brady violation territory, but then I would like talk myself out of it. Like, there's no way. There's no possible way. Why? They can't be that stupid. And then I kind of forgot about it. But like, I've since learned they are that stupid. But this is still crazy. So, okay, you're very welcome. Glad that makes sense. Yeah, Brady, that you'll hear that term a lot, so it's a good one to know. But like, you'll never, I mean, this might be, if that's happening here, it's the only time in our lifetimes we'll see it happen, I would say. Because it's like, it's just unfathomable. It's unfathomable.
Right?
That video was discovered later on and then handed over.
The first time you revealed the
And
existence.
I will say this as well. If you've got the only way that it would be possible to keep it hush hush when you've got exculpatory evidence in a Brady violation, I mean, I would say it's like a situation like this where you've got all these leagues of law enforcement officers all working together. And I will say this, when we talk about reasons why I cover up, honestly, if there was a Brady violation that occurred early on, that could be a motivation for somebody like this guy to cover it up, because of the implications would be so, it would be so, that would be it. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he could go to jail for that. So if it was like a willful and knowledgeable thing that him or anyone else participated in, like that right there could be enough to cover it up for other people, even though they weren't involved. But if there was a Brady violation, yeah. But here's the thing is that when you've got this many law enforcement officers from different agencies potentially working together, if there's a Brady violation, to keep it hush hush and to keep that out of the hands of the defense, because that's like really like only really good defense attorneys could uncover that in that situation. Like, that is really insane. And I don't know how this got to trial. Nobody knows. Like, literally, I've not heard anyone explain how it got to trial. Everybody's just
That footage
confused.
was in that separate proceeding in February of 2024. Is that right?
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
Let me back it up. February 2024, as in like a couple months ago? Wait, what?
Sallyport garage that wasn't turned over, right?
Oh,
That video was discovered later on and then handed over.
The first time you revealed the existence of that footage was in that separate proceeding in February of 2024. Is that right?
they must have had another grand jury proceeding for federal.
Yes.
Wow.
You were questioned about it, and you knew you were under oath at the time, correct?
Correct.
We've heard
And
less
that's when you
about that one.
disclosed, yes, there is Sallyport footage, and I've seen it.
The video I was
Oh my
referencing.
God. I'm sorry. My mind is exploding. So, okay. So I think, if I remember correctly, this might be the first time we're hearing of whenever they say a secret proceeding or whatever, it's the feds. So it's a federal investigation, but I've not heard them talk about February 2024. I'm wondering if they haven't even mentioned it, because we've heard a bunch of them, but I did not know about this. But what I'm hearing Jackson say, is that's the first time that they learned that this Sallyport video existed. Good on them for saving that and not letting that detail out, because that would be a hard one to keep quiet on. For like, if you're the defense, like that is like such a bombshell. I would want to spill that secret right away. I don't even know. Like, what? February 2024? I mean, this trial started right after that because it's been so long. Holy shit. Yeah, no, totally. Fender says the thing that her parents' generation says is you need 1,000 more lies to cover up first. You know what? And isn't that the story for so many people? Like Alex Murdaugh, that's what he always says. I think that's only part of it, but that is part of it. Yeah, I think the feds got involved, honestly, Fender, from what I understand. I don't know much, again, because I've not done any external reading, but whenever we hear them talking about secret grand juries, that's the feds getting involved. And they got involved. It was still pretty late in the game. Like, I think it was June or July of 2023, maybe? And this happened in January of 2022. So she's, from what I understand, I think this came from DSN maybe. I think she's got some money. Although from what I've heard, there is also like some sort of fundraising thing for her defense. But yeah, in other words, I see what you're saying. You're saying that the feds getting involved is why they thought she'd be okay. I see what you're saying there. Yeah. But it's so insane. It's so insane.
Was the exterior Sallyport camera where you can't make out anything.
Well, let's talk about that for a second.
my
The
God.
exterior, you said. Exterior, outside.
Correct.
Meaning the one of the driveway.
Right.
And you say you can't make anything out in that.
We watched that.
There's two different ones. There's a main driveway camera, and then there's this exterior Sally Port camera.
You know, part of this, remember, let's just refresh our memories from a long time ago with Higgins. Remember, there's all this surveillance or, footage from the police department, police station, whatever, that's all missing. And when he threw Officer Good under the bus about that, and I'm wondering if that's also a part of it, right? Like there's still, it's crazy. I really will hope we find out the answers to how everybody's involved, because it's easy to even forget about him because it was such a long time ago, but him and his freaking snowplow and all the shenanigans with the vehicles, and there was just a lot of shenanigans. But yeah, I mean, anyway, just remembering that.
You were asked about this set of videos at that other hearing, right?
Yes.
I think
And
she
you
works in
indicated at the
finance.
time that there was one
finance.
grainy video,
I think she works
sort
in
of
finance.
mainly
That's what
black
DSP
and
said,
grainy.
I think.
Yes.
and another one that showed you and Sergeant
never looked
McKinnick
at that.
arriving at Canton PD behind Miss Reed's vehicle on the tow truck. Is that right?
Yes.
You were asked very specifically, are you aware whether there are any cameras in the garage in the Sally Port where Karen Reed's SUV was parked? And your answer was yes, right?
Oh, yeah.
In the garage.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Do you recall being asked that question?
No.
I can repeat it if you wish.
Yeah, please.
Repeat it.
Question, are you aware of whether there are any cameras in the garage or Sally Port where Karen Reed's SUV was parked? Answer, yes.
Okay.
And then you answered, have you reviewed the video footage of that garage? Answer, I saw one very grainy video and then another of Sergeant Buchanan and I arriving in the main entrance around 5:30 following the vehicle, period. You remember that answer?
Yes.
That clearly was an answer to the question, did you see video of the interior of the garage?
Objection.
Sustained, ask it differently.
Were you answering a question about video inside the garage?
No, I was answering the question about what video I observed, and it was exterior video that I observed.
Although the answer to the question was cameras in the garage or Sally Port. That was the question.
If I was aware of any.
And your answer was yes. And then the next question is, have you reviewed the footage? And your answer was, I saw one very grainy video. And then another, Sergeant Buchanan and I arriving in the main entrance around 5:30 following the vehicle, right? That was your testimony.
Yeah, those two videos I'm referring to in the exterior of the building.
Question, when did you watch the video from the Sally Port? Answer, I haven't reviewed it, sir, in quite some time, so I can't recall what's on there. End quote. You remember that?
Yes.
So obviously at the time in February of 2024, you had that video surveillance, you had that footage for so long that you couldn't remember exactly what was on it because it had been, quote, quite some time, right?
The exterior Sally Port camera.
Except you weren't asked about the exterior. You were asked, question, when did you watch the video from the Sally Port, right? That was the question.
Well, that was the video we had, so that was how I referenced it. That was the exterior Sally Port video.
Why didn't you say to the person that was questioning you under oath, I don't know anything about video inside the Sally Port. I'm referring to outside the building. Why didn't you say that and clarify it?
Yeah, I should have clarified it, sir.
Because you'll agree, it sounds a hell of a lot like, an awful lot like, you're talking about what's inside the Sally Port, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
The next question you were asked, why did you review the video of the Sally Port? Answer, we review every video we pull, and we pull a lot of video. End quote. Do you remember that?
I do.
Oh, boy.
Not one word in that testimony.
Him drinking his water. Take
Not
his
one
water
word
away,
says
people.
Exterior. Doesn't.
No, it does not.
You testified that you had obtained and reviewed the Sally Port garage video so long ago that you literally couldn't even remember what was on it, right?
Oh,
Correct.
okay. I see where this is going. This is him trying to look at his face where it's paused right now. That is amazing. I'm going to timestamp that. Right now, what I think is happening is this is him trying to get around a Brady violation. Okay, I love that I have not followed this beforehand because this is the type of thing that I can, after this trial is over, I will want to go back and see if I'm right. Because here's my guess. My guess is that they had this hearing or this, the secret. It would have been with the feds in February of 2024, so not that long ago. And that's when he was called out because that's when it was discovered about the Lally Port videos. And it was discovered that this was a Brady violation. So this is all my guessing from what we have seen in trial. And so then they would have asked some questions about that. And that's the transcript that Jackson is reading from. And when they confronted him about it, he tried to he's trying to weasel his way out of a Brady violation, which is just insane with the feds nonetheless. Like, good luck, man. He's fucked, dude. He's fucked. Like he's trying to weasel his way out of a Brady violation by saying he doesn't even remember what was on the video. So therefore, if it's something exculpatory, he's like, oh, I just don't remember. This is insane. I love where his face is paused. Also, we're going to have a weasel alert whenever Nightbot wakes up from his little nap. He deserves it, though, because he works hard. Nightbot does. Nightbot, wake up. Where are you, my friend Nightbot? Well, at some point. Am I so incensed that I spelled weasel wrong? I don't think so. I'll try it again. Pretty sure I know how to spell it. Let's see if it works this time. Nightbot. There we go. Cute. He heard me calling his name. All right, let's see what happens, y'all.
You did know, however, that if you had video at the Sally port, it would clearly show that Miss Reed's vehicle arrived at 5:30, 5:31. Right? You knew that, correct?
Yes, from the driveway camera.
But you withheld that video out of 360 odd videos that you turned over.
Oh,
you withheld
boy.
that one and never mentioned it until February of 2024, correct?
Objection.
Is that true?
I'm not aware of that, withholding that.
Oh my God, y'all.
On April 4th, 2024, it's getting late. On April 4th, 2024, you turned over one video from the interior of the Sallyport garage, correct?
Yes, sir.
The interior, not the exterior, right?
Correct.
And that, remarkably enough, was a grainy video, right?
Yes.
And that video is missing the precise time that that vehicle was delivered to the Sallyport, correct?
Objection.
Was it? No, allow it.
I don't recall.
It's missing 42 minutes at the beginning, and it jumps from
Oh
5:08 p.m.
boy, y'all.
to 5:50 p.m.
Oh dear.
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you reviewed the video?
Yes.
Did you see that the timestamp jumps from 5?
There we go. So this was,
Objection.
Sustained.
I think I already made a Squirrely Crystal Ball prediction about this earlier today, but that would be affirmative because I think I made a prediction about like he was going to have been the one to fuck with that lollipop video. But anyway, yeah, there it is.
I'll see you at sidebar if you want.
From what it sounds like. All right, let's go forward.
The second video,
I was made aware that, I'm not sure, sir. That was,
did you make the request?
I did not.
Short one. Holy
You're
shit.
now aware of that.
I am.
Thank you.
All right.
You reviewed the video, the grainy video, correct?
Yes.
And that's from a camera perspective that would show, or that does show, the right rear area of the SUV after it's pulled in, correct?
Yes.
Did you note that the time jumps from 5:08 to about 5:50 at the beginning of the video?
Yeah, I observed a jump in video.
And that was about 42 minutes, correct?
Approximately, yes.
You're aware that there's another video from the interior of that Sallyport as well, correct?
Yes.
And you're also aware that by the way, did you secure that video, the second one? Let me ask you a predicate question because it's a little confused.
His
The
brain.
second video from the interior
I think.
of the Sallyport is inverted.
Mhm.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
You're
you
now
for.
aware of
Thank
that.
you.
I am.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you recover that video?
How?
I did not.
Who did?
I believe
Yeah, we need to get to the.
Detective Lieutenant Tully received that from the Canton Police Chief.
Oh, God.
Rafferty?
I believe so.
We
Who
need to
asked for
hear.
it?
We need to hear from all these people.
I'm not sure, sir. That
Did
was.
you make the request?
I did not.
How did you become aware that a request had been made?
I was made aware that that video had essentially existed from the interior Sallyport area.
I thought you said you didn't know.
I was probably informed by Detective Lieutenant Tully.
Yeah,
So Lieutenant Tully
okay.
tells you that a
Here's-
second video exists.
So I have to say, there's a couple other people involved in this that I'm wondering if there's something that is even worse than Proctor, because there's a couple other people that Commonwealth has not called. Tully's one of them, and I brought this up a bunch of times. And I'm wondering then if the defense is going to call him. Now, it's hard to imagine that there's anything that's worse than what we've heard from Proctor or the vast majority of the witnesses so far, even though it's the Commonwealth's case in chief. However, imagine if they're calling Proctor because there's something else that's worse. You know what I mean? Like Tully's, it's crazy that we have not heard from Tully because Tully's just really a major major player, whatever the fuck in this. But he's not the only one. There's some other people I feel like we need to hear from, but I would say that Tully is, besides the Emmy, like that's like the biggest, like obvious, like we need to hear from Tully, I think. Yeah, I don't blame you, Fender. Fender says she's tired of this trial and Lally's bullshit. Yeah, we have a sound for that from courtesy of Yannetti.
We're done here.
We're gonna play that when they're done with his ass on a cross examination. I guess after recross, when they're fully done. I'm wondering if they will. I know that whoever the Commonwealth doesn't call the defense will. But anyway, yeah. So let's see what was happening.
Interior Sally Port cameras, yes.
When did he tell you that?
I don't recall.
Was it weeks ago or years ago?
That was more recent.
Oh, that's. I mean, I don't have any way to. We don't have any way to confirm that. That's just my. That's what I'm thinking because the Commonwealth hasn't called them yet. Usually, they're like the first people to testify, and not only that, cause and manner are undetermined, and not only that, they've been trying to get medical testimony in as to John O'Keefe's injuries through these law enforcement agents. There's like a whole list of reasons why it's like, are they actually not going to call the medical examiner? Because that would be, again, just completely unprecedented. But I mean, again, it's hard to get inside Lally's mind if there's a strategy. I mean, I've actually had the thought the other day that maybe he's like a robot for like AI, and it was like their first practice round, and they got it horribly wrong, and maybe that explains all of this.
Recent than, maybe a month ago.
Matter of fact, it was after the trial had already started, mid-April, correct?
I don't recall. I thought it was before.
If it was before, was it weeks before, days before?
Yeah,
I don't recall.
April.
I'm just trying to pin down, like, are we talking about 6 months ago or are we talking about 6 weeks ago?
It wasn't 6 months ago.
Okay, so a few weeks ago, you were told about the second video from Lieutenant Tully, right?
Wow.
Yes.
Did he tell you he had already seen
agree.
it?
I'm sure he watched it.
Did he tell you he needed you to go get it?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
No.
Okay, so when was the first time
You
saw
need
it?
to get to the bottom of this.
A few weeks ago, month ago,
What were the circumstances in which you saw that video?
just reviewing the video
Where?
That
at my desk.
stop
So you
it.
pulled, pardon me, you had access to the video.
Yes.
Oh my
It's on your
God.
system somehow.
It was on thumb drives and a disk.
Oh my God.
You put that in your computer and just decided on your own to watch it, correct?
Yes.
And what did you notice?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh
Uh,
my God. Oh my
one
God.
of the
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
SUV being brought into the garage.
Oh dear.
You're in the video, right? That's you toward the back of the truck.
Yep, I'm in the video. Some Canton PD members there as well.
Wow.
Tow truck guy drops the vehicle off. He's in the front driver's seat. Exits. Sergeant Mechanic's there. I believe Chief Berkowitz, the retired police chief.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Was it-
He was kind of like mulling around the area. I feel like he was towards like the back open garage gate
We
there.
haven't heard from him either.
Towards like the rear. Yeah.
Berkowitz.
where you were.
He's another
Yes.
problem.
Was he the person, did you note that there were certain individuals that just seemed to apparate out of nowhere, just appear?
Yes, there was one individual in like the top left corner of the video pushing a broom that kind of just appeared.
And also toward the back of the vehicle, somebody just, while you were at the back of the vehicle, just sort of appeared and walked out of the Sally Port, correct?
Yes.
And was that Chief Berkowitz?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's it looks like him, yes.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So you and Chief Berkowitz are both toward the rear of the vehicle.
Oh,
He just
dear.
apparates
Oh,
out of
dear.
there because the video is missing some footage, correct?
It appears that way,
And
or
Oh,
it skips.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It skips. I don't know that system at all. So
Okay, and you're holding what appears to be that same black portfolio that we saw in the
Oh
hospital.
God.
yes,
Oh God. This is scary.
So anything
Oh
else you noticed that was odd about the video? Other than the time skips?
That's a good question because it's open ended like that. Good question.
so the timestamp on the bottom was inverse. Was it reversed?
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, the timestamp on the
Oh,
bottom of it
boy.
was kind of backwards.
Was it blue?
So instead of reading left to right, it was right to left.
Understand.
Okay, I
Was it blue?
believe it was yellow.
Oh my God. No. Wait. Stop everything. This I'm getting the impression that this is new information for Jackson. Y'all, if I'm hearing this correctly, they completely added those timestamps. Those were not the original. Because the ones on there are blue and he's saying they were yellow. I don't even know. Let's see what happens. Holy fuck. No, look, what?
Just mobile one.
Yes.
Oh my God, you guys. What if that's what's
So the
happening?
video you saw had a timestamp that was inverted.
He's
correct?
like,
Yes.
hold the fuck on.
Not the video itself.
No.
Is that inverted?
Oh boy.
No, from the video I saw, the way the vehicle was brought in relation to the garage and the doors into the PD
Oh my God.
wasn't reversed or inverted.
It was or was not?
Was not.
So as you saw the video,
Oh God.
the
What?
portion of the vehicle that purported to be the passenger side
What is happening?
was in fact the passenger side, and the vehicle, the side of the vehicle that purported to be the driver's side was in fact the driver's side.
Yes. So I reviewed video yesterday just to rewatch it, and the one that I watched had the correct angle. It wasn't reversed. The car was brought in. Tow truck driver gets out from the driver's side. It wasn't reversed. The only thing reversed on it was like the timestamp on the bottom.
Well, were you watching video that was produced in this trial?
Yeah, that's what I was
Yes.
literally,
So you
that's what I was literally just wondering. I was like, wait, how the fuck did he see it?
aware that the defense
Oh.
presented a piece of evidence?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Were you aware that the defense presented a piece of evidence where we inverted the video back to the correct,
Oh my God.
No, it's not.
and that timestamp was inverted?
I was not aware of that.
Oh God.
When did you watch that that video?
Oh boy.
Just the
Oh,
other day, I was reviewing it.
Oh boy.
Mr. Jackson, we'll take our lunch and break.
Okay.
No. Okay. Real quick. Okay, let's watch this. His face. I think this is interesting, you guys. I'm wondering if somebody else is throwing him under the bus, or like if he is also surprised by this. He did not know. Like, this is where, again, somebody else, Berkowitz, Tully, somebody. Let's watch this again. This is his reaction to this is completely different. It's like this point, he's so used to just being like he did all these things wrong. His reaction to this seems like he did not know and he's surprised. I'm really curious what you guys think, but this is
It wasn't reversed. The only thing
A huge
reversed on it
moment?
was like the timestamp
Hold
on
on,
the
let me
bottom.
hold on. Oh, I've already put it on normal. Okay.
Well,
This is insane. You guys.
were you watching video that was produced in this trial?
Okay. We need everyone's brains on
Yes.
So were you aware that the defense presented a piece of evidence
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Were you aware that the defense presented a piece of evidence where we inverted the video?
Did
back
not
to
know.
correct,
Wow.
No, it's not.
And that
Oh my God.
timestamp was inverted?
I was not aware of that.
Holy shit.
When did you watch that that video?
Just the other day, I was reviewing it.
God. Oh my God.
Mr. Jackson, we'll take our lunch and
Oh
break.
my God.
Thank
Look at his face. Look at his face.
All right, jurors.
So here's my 2 cents on this. Somebody's throwing him under the bus. He thought he was being shown the right video and he was being shown something that was also edited. That's my read on it. You guys, okay. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be coming back because I thought, I was really surprised, for example, with Higgins sorry, not Higgins. Oh my God. Fucking, why am I forgetting his name? Oh my God. What the hell? Trooper Buchanan. Right. Okay. Trooper Buchanan. So I was really surprised when he came back for the rest of his obliteration the next day. And that was when I remember Jackson was like out of town. And it was like 10 minutes on cross and then it was like 10-minute redirect and like a 5-minute. It was like he was done in like 20 minutes. And I was like, holy shit. So I was wondering if we were going to be surprised with that today and if they were going to finish up before lunch. But they are not. So I've been speculating to myself. I'm wondering if they're going to take the whole day with him on cross or just the whole day with him in general, and not even call another witness today. But we're going to have an answer to that. Let's see if she says when they're coming back from lunch.
Why don't we do 45 minutes?
All right.
Okay. So
You are
45 minutes.
muted.
And we're We're like 20 minutes behind, so like 25 minutes from now. Or something. So like, I don't know. I can't even think to do the math. So let me do this. Okay. So like 25 minutes, 120. But we want to give it a little bit of wiggle room so we can skip through some of the downtime. So 20 plus 20. I'm trying to do the math in my head, y'all. So why don't we say like 2 o'clock maybe? Yeah, I'm going to come back because he's going to be on. We're just getting to the best part of this entire thing. He's like the thought that somebody threw him under the bus. Like the way that read to me was he did not expect this. He didn't know they had a video that they had watched where it was fixed. He's getting his demeanor and his reaction to that was completely different. And it really seems like he had no idea. So now this is really setting it up. If that's accurate, that's what happened. Whether it was Tully or Berkowitz or somebody else, or Kevin out, somebody else fucked with that video and didn't even tell him. Or I guess this is just my this is me just reacting to it, but like his face turned a different color and he looked, believe it or not, it was the first time he actually looked embarrassed. Y'all go back and watch it. With all the shit that's come out, he was ready for all that. This is the first time where he looked caught off guard and embarrassed and like he didn't know how to answer it. So 2 p.m. Fender is in like 40 minutes. Somewhere around there. We'll see if y'all just keep an eye out because you know how it goes with court. I want to give it a little wiggle room so that way we can skip through. I mean, maybe I should say like 2:15 because I'm gonna have to schedule it. So I'm gonna schedule it. Let's just say 2:15. But like if they're delayed, I might push it back. But we'll say 2:15. Oh my God. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So let me go so I can schedule that because now I did not have it scheduled. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And we'll see what happens if he goes until the end of the day. All right, guys. So that's what we'll do. We'll come back after lunch. So that's in just a little under an hour from now. Right. I know you said 2. Yeah, right. So Fender, like in just under an hour, like 55 minutes-ish. So I'm not going to do the outro because it's not the end. So I'll see y'all soon. Love you guys. See you in like less than an hour.